Chapter 698. Su Yiyan nodded. She had no objections to this arrangement. She changed the topic back to Yu Yushir. Did Yu Yushir learn anything related to this before? She studied with the company's teacher for 2 months before auditioning for Red Brave. She's quite hardworking. She has great potential to be able to learn so much in 2 months. Su Yiyan flipped through the list and confirmed that Yu Yushir was auditioning for the role of the 5th female lead. Although it was just a supporting role, it won in terms of character design. If she could really act it well, she might be able to make people's eyes light up. Most importantly, it was not easy for a greenhorn like her to be able to squeeze into this group of big shots. Get someone to pay attention to her. Wait until Red Brave finishes filming. If she really has the potential in this area, we can focus on training her. Although Dongqing City was developing well, Shui Kaiwei was the only female artist who could really hold up the scene. The rest were either capable but lacking opportunities or lucky but not capable enough. It was not a bad thing to train more newcomers and provide fresh blood to the company. It's just that this 3-year contract is too short. Think about it and renew the contract with her as soon as possible after this drama is finished. Okay. After dealing with some company matters remotely, Huo Chenhuan returned with Dun Dun. Dun Dun, who had just completed a major life event in a daze, came back with dull eyes and tongue hanging out. The dog was carried in Huo Chenhuan's arms as if it had lost the whole world. You're back? How was it? Did everything go well? Did it cause a ruckus? Huo Chenhuan lied through his teeth without batting an eyelid. I'm fine. Actually, it did cause a ruckus, and it caused a huge ruckus. Before the little guy went to the operating table, it seemed to have finally realized that it had entered a wolf's den. It ran and jumped up and down, causing needles and dog hair to fly everywhere in the pet hospital. It was not easy to catch it and press it on the operating table for the surgery. The dog's barking was so earth-shattering that it scared the other pets in the hospital and almost caused a large-scale pet riot. Of course, Huo Chenhuan would never tell Su Yiyan about this. This silly dog is very silly, but it was very cooperative the entire time. Dun Dun whined weakly as if it was complaining that its father was lying. Dun Dun did not cooperate at all. It did not want to do this crazy surgery at all. It was forced to do it. Dun Dun couldn't help but feel sorrowful when he thought of what he had experienced in the hospital. 2 tears rolled down his cheeks miserably. Su Yiyan felt bad seeing it like this. He reached out to stroke its fur and said, "There's nothing we can do about it. Sooner or later we'll have to go through this. Fortunately, Hua Hua already has a little baby. In a few days I'll get Xiaoqi to bring her over and let you guys meet." Su Yiyan's original intention was to use Hua Hua to comfort Dun Dun, but she didn't expect Dun Dun to be even more disappointed after hearing her words. How could it meet its wife like this? How shameful. The sad little guy lowered his head and drilled into his nest. He raised his hand to cover his head and completely closed himself off. Huo Chenhuan saw that Su Yiyan was worried and comforted her. I asked the doctor. It's normal to be like this for a week or 2 after sterilization. Just take care of it. After 2 weeks, it will be full of energy again. Alas, I hope so. In order to divert Su Yiyan's attention, Huo Chenhuan's eyes flashed slightly. She took the initiative to say, I just heard an interesting thing on the way. Chapter 699. Su Yiyan looked up at him. What's so interesting? It's related to Huo Xiaofeng. Huo Xiaofeng? Su Yiyan suddenly became interested. What did he do this time? Huo Qihan brazenly brought home his mistress. Mrs. Huo was so angry that she fought with him. In the chaos, Huo Xiaofeng pushed the mistress. Su Yiyan was stunned and asked tentatively, the child is gone? Yes. Huo Xiaofeng had experienced both career and love. Although he had grown up, his character was not so easy to change. Huo Xiaofeng was not a kind person. No matter how much he told himself to endure, he could not really do it when it came to it. In addition, he did not have a good impression of Shui Xiaofeng and the child in her belly that was about to threaten him. Naturally, he did not hold back. It was hard to say whether he did it on purpose or not. Her child is already 5 months old, right? Yes. Huo Chenhuan saw Su Yiyan's strange expression and regretted telling her this. Su Yiyan quickly adjusted. She was pregnant now, so she felt a little uncomfortable when she heard this. But she also understood that even if the child was born, his identity would not be too glorious. It was very likely that he would become a tool for his mother to fight for power. She just pitied the child. He could not choose the family he was born into, and he could not even decide whether he could be born safely. Huo Qihan must be mad. Yes. What Huo Chenhuan did not say was that the 5-month-old child had already taken shape. was a boy. Wuxia had cheated on his wife to give birth to another heir. Now he finally saw some hope, but it was destroyed again. Wuxia had always wanted to divorce his wife and help the mistress to take over the family. He wanted to give the child a legitimate identity. Now that the child is gone, he wants a divorce even more. In this way he could find a young woman to give birth to his child in the future. He did not have to worry about the recurrence of the past. Mrs. Hua doesn't agree to the divorce? Family Hua and her son may be stupid, but they are also selfish. They know very well what kind of difficult situation they will face if they divorce. Hua Chenhuan sneered as if she had already expected this. If Hua Xiaofeng was still in the Hua Corporation, then so be it. Unfortunately, he's already been chased out, and in such an embarrassing way. At this time, if Mrs. Hua agreed to divorce Hua Qihan, there would be no place for the two of them in the family Hua. Hua Xiaofeng was not an easy person to get along with. He had offended many people in secret. Previously he was still the heir of the family Hua. No matter how dissatisfied those people were, they did not dare to offend him. However, if he was chased out of the house and lost his backing, he didn't know how many people would kick him when he was down. Mrs. Hua didn't agree, but Hua Qihan was determined to get a divorce this time. He even threatened them. Threaten what? He threatened that if they didn't agree to the divorce, he would sue Hua Xiaofeng. Sue Hua Xiaofeng? Su Yiyan was shocked. People said that even a vicious tiger would not eat its cubs. However, this sentence obviously did not apply to their family. No matter what, the mistress miscarried because Hua Xiaofeng pushed her. If it's not too serious, it's an accident. If it's serious, it's intentional injury. He wants Hua Xiaofeng to go to jail. He's just scaring them. If this matter gets out, Hua Qihan will be the one to lose face. Chapter 700. Su Yiyan chuckled. He's already married his mistress. Is he still afraid of being embarrassed? Hua Chenhuan choked and shook her head helplessly. After all, he's only making trouble in his own home. If she really sues Hua Xiaofeng, it'll be a public scene. It'll be a hot topic and everyone will know about it. He cares about his reputation and won't do that. Su Yiyan curled her lips. People always like to deceive themselves. She knew that what she did was shameless, but she still thought that as long as she hid it well, no one would know or say anything. Hua Chenhuan was amused by her pretending to be mature and reached out to pinch her little nose. Su Yiyan grabbed his hand and said with a smile, "So they're really going to get a divorce this time?" "Not necessarily." Su Yiyan blinked and looked puzzled. She had long seen that Mrs. Hua was a person who bowed to the powerful and stepped on the weak. She bullied the weak and feared the strong. Hua Xiaofeng must have brainwashed her a lot behind her back to be able to persist until now. Now that Hua Xiaofeng was in trouble, could Mrs. Hua really continue to persist? As I said just now, Hua Xiaofeng's case can be considered as intentional injury if it's serious, but it can also be considered as an accident if it's not serious. At that time they were fighting, so it's normal for them to push each other. Su Yiyan immediately understood what Hua Chenhuan meant. An unborn fetus was different from a born baby. If a born baby was killed, it was intentional murder. If an unborn fetus was caused to miscarry, it was considered intentional injury at most. It was the same crime as hitting someone and causing serious injury. Moreover, at that time, everyone was noisy and the scene was chaotic. No one could tell whether he did it on purpose or accidentally. If Hua Qihan really wanted to pursue Hua Xiaofeng's responsibility, Hua Xiaofeng could also hire a lawyer to help them defend unintentional injury. From a legal point of view, Xue Xiao was a pregnant woman, so she belonged to the disadvantaged group. However, from a moral point of view, Mrs. Hua and Hua Xiaofeng were the first wife and the first wife's son who were bullied by a mistress. They also belonged to the disadvantaged group. As long as the lawyer was capable enough, Hua Xiaofeng and his mother might not really get into trouble. That may be the case, but would Hua Xiaofeng and Mrs. Hua be able to think of this? The mother and son pair were obviously spoiled and did not seem to have enough brains. If they can't think of it, we can find someone to remind them. Su Yiyan looked surprised. You want to help them? To be precise, it's to annoy Hua Qihan. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. There is no such thing as eternal benefits and no such thing as eternal friends. For some people, even Hua Chenhuan felt that it would dirty their hands to deal with them. The best way was to let them fight each other. Don't you think it's a rare pastime to watch them fight back in their nest? Su Yiyan. Evil to evil. But why did it feel so good? You're right. It should be like this. Su Yiyan rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "How's the mistress? The child is already so big. The abortion should be very harmful to her health, right? It's definitely harmful to her health. But she was lucky to be sent to the hospital in time. Her life is not in danger. It's not impossible to have another child in the future. Even so, he had lost a healthy son who could have been his biggest bargaining chip to ascend to the top. Even if there were no more serious sequelae, she was afraid that it would not be so easy to swallow. Xue Xiao was really mad at this time. A serious opportunity to be promoted was in front of her, but it was ruined by that little bastard. Chapter 701. Xue Xiaoyu wanted to stab Hua Xiaofeng to death with a knife, but she also knew that if she acted too unreasonable at this time, she would lose Hua Qihan's favor. The reason why Xue Xiaoyu was able to quickly rise to the top and capture Hua Qihan's heart in a few months and let him take her home regardless of the consequences. In addition to Hua Xiaofeng and his mother, she knew very well that her position was also an important reason. Hua Qihan liked her for sure, but this man's love for her was largely based on the child. Now that the child was gone, Hua Qihan vented his anger on Hua Xiaofeng and his mother. But if she also acted unreasonable at this time and insisted on Hua Qihan giving her an explanation, it would make Hua Qihan transfer his anger to her. There were many people who could bear children for him. Now that Xue Xiaoyu had no child to rely on, she could not lose his favor. As for the revenge for the child, Xue Xiaoyu's eyes flashed with cold light, and her pale face could not help showing some hatred. At this moment, the door of the ward was opened with a click. Xue Xiaoyu was stunned for a moment and quickly changed her facial expression. She lowered her head slightly and looked sad. Hua Qihan entered the ward and saw such a scene. The woman lying on the bed looked haggard and pale, and her eyebrows were full of melancholy, which could easily arouse a man's desire to protect her. Xiao Rua. Xue Xiaoyu seemed to wake up from a dream. She forced a smile and said, "Brother Hua, you are here. How do you feel?" "I'm fine." Xue Xiaoyu choked with sobs and said first in a low voice, "It's my fault. I didn't protect our child well." This sentence of taking a step back in order to advance successfully poked Hua Qihan's heart, making him feel more pity for Xue Xiaoyu, and his hatred for Hua Xiaofeng and his mother increased. Hua Qihan stepped forward and hugged Xue Xiaoyu, comforting her in a low voice, "It's not your fault. I shouldn't have taken you back in such a hurry. I should have waited until the divorce was over and chased those 2B*Gs out before bringing you and your mother back. I wasn't considerate enough." Xue Xiao leaned in Hua Qihan's arms and grabbed his clothes. She defended him softly, "No, Brother Hua, don't say that. I know you want to give me and the child a good living environment so that the child can grow up better. Now that the child is gone, it's not what you wanted. Brother Hua, don't blame yourself too much. You just didn't expect young master to do such a thing." Hua Qihan was very touched after hearing this. She was the one who had been hurt, but she comforted him instead. She was always so gentle, considerate. She was completely different from his stupid wife. Hua Qihan had completely forgotten that the biggest reason why he brought Xue Xiaolin home was that his divorce with Mrs. Hua had not gone well in the past few months. He was so angry that he thought of bringing her home to discuss the mother and son at home. "You don't want a divorce, do you? Okay, from now on, the mistress of the house will be changed. The legal wife and the mistress will live under the same roof. You can keep my body, but you can't keep my heart. Let's see who can outlast the other." However, Hua Qihan had never expected that Hua Xiaofeng would so blatantly hurt Xue Xiaoyu and cause her to lose her child. Hua Qihan was so furious. On the one hand, his son, whom he had been looking forward to for months, was gone. On the other hand, he felt that Hua Xiaofeng had grown up and did not take him seriously. At this moment, Hua Qihan's disgust for Hua Xiaofeng almost reached its peak. Chapter 702. What kind of young master is he? Hua Qihan snorted coldly and cursed, "I don't have such a violent son. Don't be angry. After all, he's still a child. What can he know? No matter what, he's still his younger brother, his biological younger brother." Xue Xiao couldn't help crying in a low voice. She looked pitiful, as if saying, "I've suffered a lot, but I have to compromise in order to protect your father-son relationship." She also threw the blame to Mrs. Hua. Hua Xiaofeng was still a child. If he didn't understand these things, who would? Of course, it was his biological mother, Mrs. Hua. Even though Hua Qihan knew very well that Hua Xiaofeng was no longer a child and it was very likely that he would do such a thing with his character, he still followed Xue Xiaofeng's train of thought and convicted Mrs. Hua. Even if it wasn't Mrs. Hua who instigated him to do this, Hua Xiaofeng was still her child. She raised him and taught him. She had something to do with him doing such a thing. Hua Qihan was already angry with Mrs. Hua for raising Hua Xiaofeng. Now he didn't have any feelings for this woman. You don't have to say good things for him. They're vicious. It's an indisputable fact that they caused you to miscarry. Don't worry. I'll definitely give you and our child an explanation. Shui Xiao's eyes flashed slightly. She leaned in Hua Qihan's arms and whispered, okay. Hua Qihan's family was busy fighting among themselves. Su Yiyan entered the life of raising pigs in advance. This was her first pregnancy. She was fine. Although she was cautious, she had taken care of Qin Shueru. She probably knew the physical changes of pregnant women at various stages, so she wasn't too nervous. Hua Qinhuan, her family, and Uncle Zhang were a little too nervous. Under the strong request of several people, their original work and teaching continued to be online classes and remote management. They continued to work and teach at home. For this reason, Su Yiyan could only sleep, eat, and take a stroll under Hua Qinhuan's watchful eyes every day. After taking a stroll, she would go to class or spend an hour to draft a menu for the medicinal cuisine restaurant. Occasionally, she would listen to Hua Qinhuan's analysis of Hua Qihan's family scuffle, and take the child in her belly to learn his father's thick black theory. There were probably only a few such unconventional prenatal education. What a sin, what a sin. Finally, after waiting for Hua Qinhuan to leave, Su Yiyan found an opportunity to enter the kitchen and turn on her long-awaited live broadcast. Long time no see, everyone, because of the baby. My husband hasn't allowed me to enter the kitchen recently. He's afraid that I'll be too tired, so I haven't been live streaming for a while. Today he went out, so I had the chance to secretly broadcast. Everyone, remember to help me keep this a secret. Don't let him find out. Sure. Hua Qinhuan heard a familiar notification sound. She opened the live broadcast software and heard this sentence. Xiao Gu, the driver in the front row, also heard it. He coughed lightly and said thoughtfully, young master, in fact, proper exercise is also good for the physical and mental health of the pregnant woman and the fetus. Didn't Hua Qinhuan know about this? Of course he knew. He just couldn't help but think too much. There's fire, electricity, and water. Moreover, the knife was so sharp, the pot was so heavy, and the seafood had pliers. In his opinion, there were unknown dangers everywhere in this small 1-meter square kitchen. Gu Xiaoyang was speechless. Wasn't it normal to have these things? At this moment, Gu Xiaoyang felt that his young master was a neurotic mother. Chapter 703. Although Gu Xiaoyang complained, he did not have the guts to say it in front of Hua Qinhuan. Before the audience in the live stream could complain about Su Yiyan not live streaming for such a long time, they heard her explanation. The screen went blank for a few seconds before it exploded. What the F***? What did I miss? The streamer already has a small streamer? The streamer's recent live streams are a little too sweet. First, she celebrated her husband's birthday, and now she directly announced that she is pregnant. 666. The streamer even has a small streamer, but we don't even know what the streamer looks like. I cry. Tisk, I don't just want to see what the streamer looks like. I also want to see what the small streamer looks like. Then I can imagine what the small streamer will look like in the future. Previous poster, please have some self-respect. The small streamer is still an embryo. Her small hands and legs haven't even grown yet, and you're already thinking about her. You're a beast. Although they said that, the audience was actually used to Su Yiyan not showing her face. The most important thing was that most people believed a previous post and thought that their streamer was a descendant of a hidden family. If she really showed her face, she might get into trouble. She might really not livestream in the future. When that time came, wouldn't they be the ones to suffer losses? Su Yiyan looked at the screen full of discussions about her baby. She knew that everyone was curious and kind about her baby, and the corners of her lips unconsciously rose a little. Ahem, okay, let's not talk nonsense. We'll start today's live stream immediately and try to finish it before my husband comes back. As soon as she said that, the screen was immediately covered with densely packed lemon comments. The first dish we're going to cook today is a famous dish called Buddha Jumps Over the Wall. In ancient Earth, someone once used a poem to describe the aroma of this dish. When the jar is opened, the aroma of meat wafts around the neighborhood. When the Buddha hears it, he abandons Zen and jumps over the wall. This is where the name Buddha Jumps Over the Wall came from. The audience was stunned for a moment. They did not quite understand the meaning of the poem. On the contrary, the ancient culture researchers who were accidentally attracted by Su Yiyan's fish-flavored shredded pork were all excited. They secretly asked questions while taking notes. The meaning of this poem is that when the jar is opened, the aroma wafts too far. When the Buddha smells it, he abandons Zen and jumps over the wall. That's pretty much it. Su Yiyan was originally worried that some people wouldn't understand. Just as he was about to explain, he saw this message. He smiled faintly and said, "In ancient Earth, Buddhists advocated abstaining from meat and praying to Buddha. Abstaining from meat refers to eating vegetarian food. A large portion of the ingredients in Buddha Jumps Over the Wall soup belong to the meat category. The general meaning of this poem is that the aroma of this dish can make people who are vegetarian break their precepts for it." With such a description, the gluttonous worms in many people's stomachs seem to have been drawn out all at once. They couldn't wait to smell what this delicacy that could make people break their rules tasted like. Streamer, will this dish be part of the lucky draw today? Lucky draw, I want to eat it. The black-faced party says that they don't want to draw the lottery. Let's bid. I'm willing to spend a year's salary to try this Buddha Jumps Over the Wall. Flies are rubbing their hands together. Maidens are willing to use their lifetime's luck in exchange for this lucky draw in the streamer's live streaming room. It's too painful to be able to smell it but not eat it. Host, will this Buddha Jumps Over the Wall soup be sold in medicinal cuisine restaurants? Is it also the host who sets the menu? Or could it be ordered freely like the braised food? Please give me a chance to spend money. Chapter 704. She had not even started cooking yet, but the viewers in the livestream room were already preparing for the lucky draw and the release of the dish in the store. Although Su Yiyan's livestream frequency was not high, and she was not as diligent as other streamers, the quality of each livestream was very high, and she had never failed. Every time one felt that her description was too exaggerated, she would be slapped in the face. Over time they had gotten used to it. They skipped the questioning and went straight to the point. Su Yiyan muttered, "Let's draw one then. I'm going to use this dish to bribe my husband so that he won't be angry about me sneaking into the kitchen. Whether we can pass this stage today depends on this dish. I'm so jealous. Every time I feel jealous, the streamer makes me even more jealous. Lemon fruit under the lemon tree, you and I under the lemon tree. The streamer's husband must have saved all of mankind in his previous life. He made the streamer give birth to his children and make Buddha Jumps Over the Wall for him. I'm crying, sob. Streamer, control yourself. Otherwise, the single people in the live stream room will be stuffed with dog food. I suggest that from today onwards, the streamer can only show off her baby and not her husband. If you violate this rule, we'll ask the streamer to make one more dish for us or get one more lucky draw ticket." As it turned out, Su Yiyan's fans in the live stream room were quite weird. If it had been another female streamer's live stream room, they would have lost half of their viewers if they heard the streamer saying the word husband every day and showing off their love without hiding it. Although the viewers in Su Yiyan's live stream room were jealous, they were used to it. They left a few comments to complain, but they still watched and ate. It was so delicious. Huan, who was originally gloomy and itching to fly home immediately, finally looked better after hearing Su Yiyan's words. Even the inexplicable scary vibe around her was restrained. Gu Xiaoyang, who was trembling in the front row, was speechless. Should he say that his young master was too easy to coax? A jar of Buddha Jumps Over the Wall soup required dozens of ingredients, and most of these ingredients needed to be processed. This caused the preparation to be more complicated. As Su Yiyan processed the raw materials, he didn't forget to explain to everyone, before making Buddha Jumps Over the Wall, you need to soak the shark's fin first. The shark's fin needs to be soaked for 2 days and 1 night before it can be used. After that, you still need to simmer it for a period of time. Considering that the live broadcast time is limited, I'm using shark's fin that has already been processed. Su Yiyan took out a bowl of processed shark fin and added some lemon to remove the fishy smell. Shark fins from ancient Earth contained mercury and were not suitable for pregnant women. Most of the mercury came from wastewater pollution. In this era, ecological protection was very important, so there was almost no mercury in shark fins. Relatively speaking, shark fins were more delicious and safe. The sea cucumbers and dried scallops also need to be soaked for a period of time in advance. The fish lips need to be boiled in a water pot. Add in scallion and ginger wine to remove the fishy smell and set aside. As for the abalones, they need to be steamed over a large fire in advance. Huan and the viewers watched as Su Yiyan took out various ingredients and spun around in the kitchen happily like a small spinning top. Su Yiyan was so busy that his feet didn't even touch the ground. They were dazzled by his actions. It took Su Yiyan more than an hour just to prepare the ingredients in the early stage. After much difficulty, he put the ingredients into the urn, sealed the lotus leaves, covered the small bowl and placed it on the stove to simmer. Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief. The viewers in the live stream room also felt relieved. Chapter 705. The porcupine ginseng, pork tendons, fish lips, and fish belly have to be simmered for 2 hours before you put them in. You have to be quick when you put them in. Once you're done, you have to seal the jar immediately. Otherwise, the fragrance inside will leak out easily. After that, you have to simmer them for another 2 hours. Of course, if you have time, it's best to simmer them for a full 8 hours. That way the taste will be even more delicious and rich. Su Yiyin looked at the time. If we start to simmer them now, we'll be able to eat them around night time. Let's leave the live broadcast until night time. We'll draw the lottery then from 6 p.m. to 6:10 p.m. We won't wait if it's too late. The audience didn't have any objections. They weren't afraid of waiting for a good meal. It was only 7 to 8 hours. In order to eat this legendary Buddha jumps over the wall, they could wait for an entire day. Alright, Buddha jumps over the wall is done. Next, let's make some nourishing recipes that are suitable for pregnant women. Su Yiyin's clear voice pulled everyone's attention back from Buddha jumps over the wall. Those who have pregnant women in their homes should know that some pregnant women will have certain reactions during the early stages of pregnancy. Specifically, they won't be able to eat. Once they see oily things, they will feel nauseous. This period is called the early stages of pregnancy. After the early stages of pregnancy, the fetus will grow rapidly, and the pregnant woman's appetite will suddenly become vigorous. In order to provide nutrition for the fetus and nourish the pregnant woman's body, the pregnant woman needs to eat more nutritious foods that are rich in protein, vitamins, and other nutrients. The first dish Su Yiyin prepared was beef bone nourishing soup. When Su Yiyin made Buddha jumps over the wall, the beef bones had been boiled together with the soup. This time he added onion and ginger slices to make it fragrant. Then he added water and carrots to simmer together. Just like Buddha jumps over the wall, the beef bones needed to be simmered slowly for 3 hours before all the essence was boiled into the soup. Beef bones are the same as pork ribs. They are rich in calcium, which can nourish the kidney and nourish the marrow. It has a very good effect on the pregnant woman and the fetus, especially in the later stages of pregnancy. The fetus needs a lot of calcium to form its bones. At this time, the pregnant woman can drink more beef bone and pork ribs soup. After the beef bones were boiled, Su Yiyin quickly made the second dish, mao shu pork. In addition to the meat, there are wood ears, vegetables, bamboo shoots, eggs, and other ingredients in mao shu pork. It's worth noting that it has the function of promoting blood circulation. It's best not to eat it in the first 3 months. You can eat some in the middle stage to prevent anemia. Su Yiyin said as he quickly stir-fried the various ingredients in the wok. In just a few minutes, the dish was ready. After that, Su Yiyin also made almond braised pork knuckles, sweet and sour yellow croaker, and salad. Taking time into consideration, Su Yiyin made fewer dishes today. Even so, it still managed to tempt everyone to the point of drooling. Stewed pork knuckles, fresh sweet and sour fish, and a refreshing salad of 3 shreds. Not to mention pregnant women, even ordinary people could eat a few more bowls of rice with this dish. Pregnant women had special constitutions. Su Yiyin was also worried that different people's constitutions would be different. Therefore, she used natural ingredients for most of the dishes she made today. Although it was a little expensive, most of them could be bought on the market. Other than the Buddha jumps over the wall soup, the ingredients and preparation of the dishes today are all relatively simple. For men with pregnant women at home, this was a good opportunity to perform. Pregnant women often felt unwell, and their emotions were more unstable. He learned a few things to reward his wife who had worked hard to get pregnant. You're good, she's good, everyone's good. It's also your contribution to the harmony of the family. Chapter 706. As soon as Su Yiyin finished speaking, many male viewers in the live broadcast room subconsciously looked at their hands. Thinking about it, it was quite beautiful. However, they were handicapped people who did not work hard and could not distinguish between food and vegetables. Could they really make a loving maternity meal for their wives? What if it failed and turned into a dark cuisine? If this wasn't handled properly, it might become the murder of one's wife and child. Many people were frightened by their own imagination. Huan, who was closely watching the live broadcast room, showed a serious expression. What's the shortest time an ordinary person takes to learn how to cook? Gu Xiaoyang was stunned for a while before he realized that Huan was asking him. Combined with what Su Yiyin had just said, Gu Xiaoyang's expression suddenly became subtle. Their young master was going to cook by himself? Oh my god, young master really loved young madam. But, young master, are you sure you're really going to cook and not blow up the kitchen? The manager and driver Xiao Gu, who was deeply skeptical of his young master's ability in this aspect, twitched his mouth and said euphemistically, "This? Not necessarily, it depends on talent. Some people can learn for a few days and some may need a few days. But for someone like young master, it was unimaginable. Please give up this dangerous idea." Huo Chenhuan was silent for a long time after hearing Gu Xiaoyang's words. Just as Gu Xiaoyang was thinking hard about how to stop the tragedy that was about to happen, a phone call suddenly came in. Gu Xiaoyang quickly switched to the automatic call link. After listening to the report, his face suddenly became gloomy. "Young master, someone is investigating young madam." Huo Chenhuan looked up and his eyes suddenly became piercingly cold. "Who?" When Huo Chenhuan returned home, the nutritious beef bone soup had just been prepared. The bone marrow essence of the fully boiled beef bones had completely penetrated into the soup. The milky white bone soup was skimmed off the foam, and mixed with the fragrance of onion and carrot, it didn't smell greasy at all. It was a good choice to drink alone or eat with noodles. Su Yiyan walked out of the kitchen with a bowl of soup in her hand. When she saw Huo Chenhuan, she was frightened and a little guilty. "You're back? Lunch is ready. Let's eat first." Huo Chenhuan saw her guilty conscience and asked knowingly, "Did you do it?" "I was wrong." Su Yiyan admitted it very straightforwardly. She lowered her head slightly and looked like she was waiting to be lectured, but it made people's hearts soften. However, Huo Chenhuan saw through her thoughts at a glance. She chuckled and said, "Will you do it again next time?" Su Yiyan looked up in surprise as if to say, "How did you know?" However, he still tried to save himself some dignity. "You said it yourself, I didn't." Huo Chenhuan didn't know whether to be angry or amused. "Then tell me, what did you do wrong? Shouldn't I have gone into the kitchen when you weren't here?" After Su Yiyan finished speaking, she quickly added, "It's just cooking, it's really easy for me. You read the test reports every day and you know very well how my body is. I really won't tire myself out because of such a small thing." After listening to her, Huo Chenhuan sighed and lowered his head to give her a kiss as a punishment. "You shouldn't have said anything to me. You shouldn't have thought that I would be angry and stop you. If you had told me nicely, would I have stopped you?" Su Yiyan blinked and said without thinking, "Don't you know how to do it?" Huo Chenhuan. Well, he really would. Chapter 707. Of course, he wasn't stupid enough to have a direct conflict with his wife and make her unhappy. He would only ask Uncle Zhang to keep an eye on her, be on standby, and report to her at any time. Then he would think of ways to disturb her so that she couldn't really go in and get busy. However, since Su Yiyan said it so directly, he really couldn't do anything else. "How long were you busy today?" "About 2 hours, Wang Yao said. Su Yiyan didn't forget to add, "I took a break in between. It's a balance between work and rest, so I didn't get tired." Huo Chenhuan was stared at by his wife's pitiful eyes. No matter how angry he was, he couldn't help but say helplessly, "Don't do it again." Su Yiyan blinked and pulled Huo Chenhuan's sleeve. She asked softly, "Is there really no next time? I can shorten the time and only stream for an hour." Huo Chenhuan frowned. In the end, he couldn't make up his mind. "Once a month. If it's inconvenient for you in the future, you can cancel it." Su Yiyan's eyes lit up. She tried to bargain. "Once a week. 2 weeks, deal." Huo Chenhuan. He felt like he had been tricked. However, when he saw that Su Yiyan seemed to have finally found something for herself to do, Huo Chenhuan could only helplessly swallow his words. Forget it. She should be fine at home. At the very least, he would keep an eye on her and not let her tire herself out. The cooking time of Buddha jumps over the wall was relatively long. Su Yiyan estimated that it was about time, so she turned on the live stream again. Because it was mentioned in advance that there would be a live stream at night, the number of people waiting in Su Yiyan's live stream was about the same as the one in the morning. In fact, there were even more people. Most of them were probably here to watch the fun. Countless viewers, including Huo Chenhuan, were eagerly waiting for the taste of this jar of delicious finished product. Su Yiyan first took down the overturned jar. Because it had been simmering for a long time, the lotus leaves sealed at the mouth of the jar were no longer as green as before. They had withered to a light brown color. The moment the lid was lifted, a strong aroma of wine mixed with all kinds of ingredients rushed out from the jar. It went straight into one's heart, causing one to be shocked. Sob, sob, sob. When the smell wafted out, my saliva was already drooling 3 meters away on the ground. My mother gave me a good scolding. She said that I didn't know how to clean up and only caused trouble for her. Useless. Ha ha ha, the person above is so realistic. I can imagine the fear of being controlled by my mother. F***ck, this taste is amazing. No wonder it's called Buddha jumps over the wall. I don't know if Buddha jumps over the wall after smelling this scent. Anyway, I really want to jump over the wall and poach the streamer. I want to poach her +1. When I think about how we'll have to fight for a spot with 8 figures in a while, the host's husband will be able to sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. When I think about this, my heart feels like it's been soaked in decades of old vinegar. It's so sour that my heart is about to break apart. Everyone, let's team up and poach her. If we succeed, we'll split this jar of Buddha jumps over the wall equally. Even if we only get a drop, it'll be good. As long as we wield the hoe well, there's no corner that we can't poach. Let's go. Snatch the streamer over. Wuxia Huan looked at the screen full of comments from the viewers who had completely lost control just by smelling the scent. They were all inviting teams to poach her. She narrowed her eyes dangerously, got up and walked to the small kitchen. Baby, are you done? A familiar magnetic voice came from outside the screen. It also made the viewers in the live stream who were happily spamming the screen subconsciously stop what they were doing. Chapter 708. The host's husband? No matter how many times I hear it, I have to say it. This subwoofer, I'm dead. I'm sorry about this, baby. My phantom limbs are hard. Previous poster, please have some self-respect. Do you believe that the moderator will ban you for openly showing pornography in the live stream room? Today I still have other people's lemons on my head. Sob sob sob. This voice? I really can't control my voice. Why don't you guys poach the host while I poach the host's husband? He. There were quite a few people who had this idea. After all, there were all kinds of obsessions these days. Compared to other types of obsessions, voice obsessions were considered a very common type. We agreed to poach the host's husband together, but you guys secretly betrayed us. Are you worthy of our revolutionary friendship of watching the host's celestial love? Betray what? Isn't this the same as poaching the host's husband? You poach your husband and I'll poach mine. We won't interfere with each other and can even help each other. Perfect. Previous poster is really clever. Mandarin is really a magical language. The same words can be broken down into different meanings. So, are we trying to poach the host's husband and wife and achieve a multi-sided sadomasochistic love? It's a little exciting just thinking about it. After hearing what you guys said, I'm actually a little tempted, restless. JPG? Okay, it's coming out soon. Su Yiyan responded and scooped out a portion of Buddha jumps over the wall as fast as she could for the lucky draw later. When she looked up, she saw that the screen was full of messages that wanted to poach her husband. She was stunned, then she said in annoyance and amusement, "Give up. My husband is made of diamond. You guys can't poach him." As soon as she said that, the group of people started to feel jealous again. Fortunately, they were not in the mood to think about how to poach Su Yiyan's husband. The Buddha jumps over the wall that had just been scooped out was very fragrant. When it entered the mouth, it was full of meaty flavor. It was fragrant but not greasy. It was soft and tender. Because there were a lot of ingredients mixed in, the various ingredients in the urn mixed with each other. There was flavor within flavor, but surprisingly it did not feel mixed. Every time he took a bite, he could feel all kinds of different flavors exploding in his mouth, constantly stimulating his taste buds and making him addicted. For the sake of this small bowl of Buddha jumps over the wall soup, the audience, who were originally hooked by Wuxia Huan's words, rebelled for the second time. They clamored and joined the army of poaching the streamer's fans. They decisively abandoned their new love and returned to the embrace of their old love. Many male compatriots gasped in amazement at this. Women are really fickle creatures. Seconded. There are many ingredients for the Buddha jumps over the wall soup, and it is rich in nutrients. Not only can it strengthen one's immune system, regulate one's meridians, moisturize one's intestines and beautify one's complexion, it can also prevent and treat some cough, male diseases and enhance one's hematopoietic function. Su Yiyan focused on the male emergency. Her face was slightly red. Unbeknownst to him, on the other end of the screen, when a person heard the words, enhance hematopoietic function, his hands suddenly stopped moving and his eyes suddenly narrowed. Pregnant women can eat a little of this dish, but they can't eat too much because there are some cold ingredients in it. It's not good for the pregnant woman and the baby to eat it. Also, this dish is more nutritious. Eating too much of it will cause the baby to overgrow. Many people have the wrong idea that pregnant women can eat as much as they want. Even if they can't eat, they have to force themselves to eat more because it's more nutritious for two people. But in fact, if pregnant women don't eat in moderation, it will cause the baby to grow too big. Not only will it cause the pregnant woman to be overburdened during pregnancy, but it will also be relatively dangerous during delivery. Chapter 709. Therefore, under the premise of ensuring the nutrition of the pregnant woman and the fetus, I hope that all pregnant mothers will eat a balanced diet. Don't overeat just because you have a baby in your stomach. Perhaps because she was pregnant, Su Yiyan couldn't help but say a few more words when this topic was brought up. Okay, let's do the lucky draw next. The lucky draw was very fast. In the end, the lucky 1 in a million was a female account with the ID Lucky Queen Sparkle. She lived up to her name. After Su Yiyan packed the prize and sent it out, she called Hua Chenhuan over to eat. Hua Chenhuan had already gone to the small kitchen after Su Yiyan turned off the live broadcast. She was worried that Su Yiyan would be tired after staying in the small kitchen for so long. But in fact, Su Yiyan had only been in there for less than 10 minutes. How could she not be tired? She was just curious about the main dish that her wife had specially made for her. It was rare for her to make such a time-consuming main dish. Su Yiyan used a relatively large jar to store a lot of ingredients. Su Yiyan was pregnant and couldn't eat too much. Such a large portion was definitely not enough for the two of them to finish. She immediately asked someone to send 3 portions to the Su family. Su Yiyan scooped a bowl of the remaining food for herself and Uncle Zhang. Uncle Zhang didn't expect that he would have a share. He was pleasantly surprised. He had been thinking about it since he smelled it outside. Although Su Yiyan usually cooked personally and would occasionally invite him to eat with her when she cooked too much, today's dish sounded like it was specially made for him. Even if Uncle Zhang was envious, he couldn't covet the love dinner of the young couple. He didn't expect that Su Yiyan would leave a portion for him. Su Yiyan couldn't help but laugh. These things are hard to digest. You can eat a bowl like me. This is also my first time cooking. Have a taste and see if it's delicious. After saying that, she turned to Hua Chenhuan and said, "The rest is all yours. You're responsible for eating it all." Naturally, Hua Chenhuan was more than happy to oblige. She immediately took everything inside. Young madam's culinary skills are amazing. Uncle Zhang took a sip of the soup and couldn't help but exclaim, "This is the first time I've eaten something so delicious." Su Yiyan chuckled. "I'm relieved to hear that. I was worried that I might be rusty because I haven't been in the kitchen for a while. Now that I've heard what you said, I'm confident again. After I give birth to the baby, no matter what, I can rely on this skill to earn some milk powder money for the baby." Hua Chenhuan paused and looked up at her. "I'm here. Do you still need to earn money for the baby's milk powder?" Uncle Zhang also laughed and said, "Yes, with young master here, how can young madam make money for little child? I just heard them say that this dish needs to be stewed for 7 to 8 hours. What if you're tired after spending an entire day just to eat this?" As soon as Uncle Zhang said this, Hua Chenhuan's eyes drifted over as if to say, "See, I'm not the only one who thinks so." Su Yiyan? Well, she felt that she would be watched more closely at home in the future. The family in the family Hua was enjoying dinner happily. On the other side, the Buddha jumps over the wall that Su Yiyan had given away in the lottery also fell into someone's hands. "Did you feed the pregnant woman those dishes in the morning?" Do Channy looked at the luxurious dishes on the table in the thermos box and asked in a low voice, "Did she have any reaction?" "Yes, she did." "She didn't have any reaction. She said, it tasted very good." Chapter 710. Do Channy nodded and reached for the bowl of Buddha jumps over the wall soup in front of him. Liu had specially bought this from a lucky 1 in 10 million audience members. At first, the other party was not very happy, but the reward Liu offered was too tempting. After weighing the pros and cons, the other party finally gave up the bowl. After the bowl arrived, Liu personally went to pick it up. It did not even go through the hands of the lucky audience member. After getting the bowl, Liu rushed back to the company as fast as he could and placed it on Do Channy's desk before it turned cold. "Boss." Seeing Do Channy move the box in front of him, Liu's pupils shrank and he looked nervous. Do Channy looked up at him and asked, "Do you want to eat it?" Liu really wanted to eat it. Who wouldn't want to eat something so fragrant? However, the reason why he called out to Do Channy so nervously was not only because he wanted to eat it, but also because he was worried that Do Channy would have a serious adverse reaction after eating it. "Boss, you almost went into shock after eating that cake last time." Do Channy's illness was not only that he would feel pain all over his body when he had an attack, but he also had to be very careful when eating things. Things that were fine for ordinary people would most likely turn into deadly poison for him. Take the exquisite little cake that they bought last time as an example. Ordinary people would only think that it was sweet and delicious and would want to eat it again after eating it. However, Do Tianyi was a death sentence. He had just finished eating the cake and was sent to the hospital because of an allergic reaction. In the end, it was just because there were eggs in the cake and he was allergic to eggs. It was said that this Buddha jumps over the wall soup had more than 10 main ingredients and more than 20 supplementary ingredients. The ingredients were much more complicated than the previous cake. If one of the ingredients was an allergen, Do Tianyi would have to be sent to the hospital again if he ate a bite. Why don't we get someone to test it first to confirm the ingredients inside and… Before Liu could finish, Do Tianyi interrupted him with a faint smile. Are you afraid that I'll die? Liu pursed her lips, not daring to speak. There are many people in this world who want me dead, but the heavens don't seem to care about my life. They don't intend to take it back so soon. Those who thought they could outlive him had all died before him. He who had been sentenced to death long ago, was still struggling at death's door in this world. In the last few years he had lived like a mouse, pale, haggard, rotten, and frail. He wanted to live, but he had had enough of this kind of life. He needed some pain, some stimulation to prove that he was still alive. Get someone to test the ingredients in these dishes. At the same time, record my body condition before and after eating. Liu knew that Do Tianyi's words meant that there was no room for negotiation. He could only nod and call the accompanying medical team downstairs in advance to make preparations. Then he watched nervously as Do Tianyi picked up a piece of abalone and put it into his mouth. Since Dun Dun had been sterilized, Ling Xiaoqi's attitude towards it had finally changed. This was reflected in the fact that Ling Xiaoqi had brought Hua Hua to the house more often. She gradually let the two dogs be alone and no longer yelled at it. Dun Dun really didn't know whether to cry or laugh about this. It had sacrificed the rest of its life in exchange for a family reunion. It had really sacrificed too much for this family. Chapter 7:11. You're living a good life. Ling Xiaoqi looked at Su Yiyan's rosy face that had become rounder in a few months and was very envious. Su Yiyan rolled her eyes at her. It's okay if you like it. I'm bored at home these days. You can move here to relieve my boredom. You can eat and drink with me every day. You can talk and laugh with me. You'll be paid as usual. In addition, I'll ask Chen Huan to send you a red packet to thank you for coming to accompany me. So good. Ling Xiaoqi's eyes lit up slightly. She was a little moved. Yes, it's so good. How about it? You'll move here today? Ling Xiaoqi pondered for a moment and shook her head solemnly. What? Is it more leisurely to relieve my boredom than you sitting in the office and doing things? You're leisurely at home because you're pregnant. I'm not pregnant. How can I go to your house to eat and drink? Besides, if you let me accompany you to eat and drink, when you give birth to the baby in your belly, I'll grow up to be a fatty of 180 pounds. I can't find a boyfriend when I'm thin. If I become a fatty, no one will want me. Tell me, is this your purpose? Ling Xiaoqi said and made a gesture of she sure holding her heart. You're so vicious. Pfft. Su Yiyan was amused by Ling Xiaoqi's accusation. You can't find a boyfriend? How many times have I said that I'll introduce you to my brother? Who's the one who keeps refusing? Now you say that no one wants you. Ah. Su Yiyan felt that it wasn't enough. She reached out and pulled Ling Xiaoqi's cheeks. Ling Xiaoqi struggled for a moment. She pulled Su Yiyan's hand down and rubbed her big face. How are you recently? Did that man look for you again? Ling Xiaoqi's movements paused and then she sighed and said, yes. Then, I told him directly that I didn't want to acknowledge him and I didn't want to go home with him. How did he react? How can he react? He didn't look too good. I could tell that he wanted to get angry, but he suppressed it in the end. He only asked me to consider it carefully. If it weren't for the information Su Yiyan had helped her investigate, she might not have been able to see through this person's true colors so quickly. But when all the motives were laid bare under the sun, Ling Xiaoqi found that some people really couldn't stand the scrutiny. No matter how good an actor was at acting, after watching for a long time, he would eventually give himself away. The only difference was whether the person watching was attentive enough and rational enough. I haven't seen him since then. It's not that he didn't come looking for me, but he was stopped by the bodyguards that Mr. Hua sent to protect me. Ling Xiaoqi lowered her eyes and said coldly, I didn't see him and I don't want to see him. As soon as I saw him, I would remember how much my mother had suffered all these years. As for him, he's clearly the main culprit, yet he's living more carefree and more glamorous than anyone else. It's nauseating. That's enough. Don't be angry. Auntie Ling is watching from the heavens. I'm sure she wants you to have your own life and not be pestered by that man, used and lost yourself. It's not worth it. Yeah. Why don't you move in with us? Su Yiyan was still worried about Ling Xiaoqi being alone. People with no bottom line were even scarier when they went crazy. Who knew what Qin Fangde would do if he was forced into a corner? Ling Xiaoqi froze when she heard Su Yiyan's words. Then she pretended to be wise and waved her hand. No. Forget it. Living in your house. I don't want to go blind at such a young age. Chapter 7:12. Ling Xiaoqi had indeed thought about moving to avoid the limelight, but she had never considered the family Hua. Firstly, this was the Hua family after all, not the Su family. She was here to be a third wheel and disturb the couple's private life. If someone with ulterior motives spread the news, there might be rumors that would affect the couple's relationship. Second of all, she was also worried that if Qin Fangde found out that she was living in the family Hua, would he send someone to make trouble? Ling Xiaoqi was not afraid that he would make a move in the family Hua. After all, compared with the Qin family, the men in Su Yiyan's family were not easy to deal with. However, Su Yiyan was pregnant now, so the situation was special. Even if Qin Fangde did not dare to make a move in the family Hua, Ling Xiaoqi would never forgive herself if the noise scared her and caused an accident to her and the child. Hearing Ling Xiaoqi's teasing, Su Yiyan blushed and was about to lose her temper. But after thinking about it for a while, he more or less understood her concerns. He sighed and said, "Then you should be careful. I will tell Brother Junxing to let you work less overtime and go home early." As Su Yiyan spoke, she seemed to think of something and frowned. "Wait, the place where you live, does he know the location?" "Yes." "Did he go to your place to look for you?" "Yes." Su Yiyan's expression changed slightly. No, it's too unsafe. If you really don't want to move to our place, I will find you a safer house. You can move there for a while and avoid the limelight for a while." Ling Xiaoqi was a little hesitant. "Won't it be too troublesome?" "How can it be? You don't know that when I married Chen Huan he transferred all the shares, properties, real estate and all kinds of other things under his name to my name. There are about 7 or 8 suites in City A alone. They are either high-end residential areas or small private buildings with courtyards. These houses are basically empty now, but they are cleaned regularly and have everything inside." When Ling Xiaoqi heard Su Yiyan's words, she was instantly jealous. "Don't say it. I will hate the rich if you continue." Who was the one who righteously said that she would not return to the Qin family and that she did not want a penny from the Qin family? I thought that someone really regarded money as dirt. I did not expect you to hate the rich. How is it the same? How is it different? I'll say it again. What's mine is mine, and I won't take a single cent that's not mine. Actually, no matter what, you are still a member of his family. Moreover, your mother did let him down back then. It is reasonable for her to take some money from his family as compensation." Thinking of the situation when she and Ling Xiaoqi had just met, Su Yiyan's face could not help but turn cold. At that time, Ling Xiaoqi was underage and went out to do odd jobs to earn living expenses. The inspection of private shops was not very strict. They also turned a blind eye to part-time jobs like child labor. Because of Ling Xiaoqi's mother had completely cut off contact with her parents and relatives. Raising a child alone was not only tiring, but she also fell ill early. Not long after Ling Xiaoqi graduated, she fell ill and passed away not long after. In her opinion, Qin Fangde was the initiator of the tragedy of Ling Xiaoqi and her mother. Ling Xiaoqi was already very kind for not adding insult to injury. If it were her, not to mention going home with him, she might even stab him in the back and let the family bite each other. Chapter 7:13. Ling Xiaoqi's face darkened when she heard Su Yiyan's words. She snorted coldly and said, "Money is indeed tempting, but you also have to see how much dirty and shady business is hidden behind this large sum of money. Besides, if I really accept this hot potato, won't I have to take care of that man in the future? You can also ignore him and avenge your mother. He's heartless, but I can't not be righteous. If I really acknowledge him and take his money, can I really throw him away in the future? Even if I can really be ruthless and become as cold-blooded as him, those unrelated to me will still stand on the high ground and hold me hostage. Although I can ignore them, I feel annoyed just thinking about it." Ling Xiaoqi sighed and lamented, "This world always bullies honest people the most." Su Yiyan was startled when she heard this. Her eyes couldn't help but sting. The person in front of her didn't say it, but in reality her heart was as clear as a mirror. She loathed Qin Fangda and the Qin family behind him. But even so, for her own sake in her previous life she endured this disgust and returned to the Qin family, dying in the place she hated the most. Ling Xiaoqi let out a long sigh after she finished speaking. She curled her lips and said, "That's why I gave birth to a sperm. A scumbag who didn't even raise me for a day is not worthy of me taking care of him in his old age. Bah! I'm not going to make myself suffer." Su Yiyan was amused by her words, and the gloominess in her heart dissipated a lot. Yes, you're right. It's good enough that you're not cheating him to let you take care of him in his old age. Then she quickly changed the topic back to moving house. When you go back, pack up your things and bring Hua Hua over. You don't have to bring too much. If it's too big, just throw it away. There are ready-made ones over there. Su Yiyan frowned and pondered for a moment. She was a bit distressed. Oh, I can't remember where these houses are. I'll ask Chen Huan to send the information over in a while. But it's best if you pick one that's close to me. In this way, if something really happened, they could take care of each other. Ling Xiaoqi heard this and felt sour again. If she could, she also wanted to have so many houses that she couldn't remember where they were. So sour. I finally understand why so many girls always fantasize that they can join a rich family one day. This kind of days where they could count houses and play was really too enviable. However, it was not so easy to enter a wealthy family. Su Yiyan's family background was good and was not much different from a wealthy family's. If the difference was too great and they had different values, they might not be able to last long, and they might not be able to dote on them like Hua Chenhuan doted on Su Yiyan. An ugly duckling becoming a swan. If you're envious, then let your Hua Hua quickly marry my Dun Dun. Don't be fooled by Dun Dun. It's a dog with its own private villa. It's okay if you can't be my sister-in-law. Hua Hua will definitely marry into a rich family. The corner of Ling Xiaoqi's mouth twitched. She thought to herself, no matter how luxurious a dog's house is, it's still a dog's house. Do you really think you can bribe Hua Hua and me? Naive. However, Ling Xiaoqi soon found out who was more naive. Ling Xiaoqi watched as Hua Hua moved into Dundun's villa under its warm invitation. She was like a proud queen leisurely inspecting the territory under her feet. She was so happy that she forgot about home. Ling Xiaoqi. Chapter 7:14. After sending Ling Xiaoqi away, Su Yiyan immediately asked her husband for the information and pictures of the properties and sent them to her. You want her to move? Yes, that man knows where she lives now. I'm worried that it's not safe for her to continue living there, so I asked her to move. Originally, I wanted her to move to our house, but he was worried that she would disturb our two-person world, so I could only ask her to move elsewhere. You seem to pay special attention to her. Su Yiyan suddenly paused and looked up at him in surprise. Are you jealous? I just feel that you seem to be particularly worried that she will return to the Qin family. Is there any special reason? Su Yiyan's heart trembled and she couldn't help but sigh at Hua Chenhuan's keenness. I'm just worried that she will become a puppet in the hands of that man this time. She will have no choice but to become the target of public criticism. Just like what Xiaoqi said just now, he obviously didn't raise her for even a day. He only provided her with a sperm and tried to control her life, using her as a chess piece for his own interests. It's okay if it's useful, but if it's useless, he will throw her aside and let her fend for herself. This kind of person, to put it bluntly, was selfish. With such a scumbag father, even if Ling Xiaoqi didn't die in the hands of the first wife, she might not have a good end in the future. Hua Chenhuan intuitively felt that this matter was not so simple, but since Su Yiyan was unwilling to say, he didn't ask much. The Hua Group's shareholders' meeting will be in a few days. Several old shareholders specially invited me to attend. Su Yiyan suddenly became interested. What do they want to do? Find out the truth? Both. Hua Chenhuan narrowed his eyes and sneered. They have enjoyed watching Hua Qihan's affairs, and it's time to do something serious. During this period of time, Hua Qihan's family was really chaotic. It was almost a small drama every 3 days and a big drama every 5 days. It was reasonable to say that outsiders like them were not qualified to ask about the private lives of their immediate superiors and partners. However, the fire in Hua Qihan's backyard had not subsided even after such a long time. Instead, he was getting more and more anxious. Many people began to wonder if a decision-maker who couldn't even manage his own family could really manage their company well and bring long-term benefits to them. Then what are you going to do? Since he has invited me so sincerely, it won't take much effort to take a look. I can also annoy Huaqihan. Su Yiyan frowned. She felt that Huaqihan was not in the right mood when she mentioned Huaqihan. Fortunately, the two of them did not dwell on this topic for too long and quickly returned to the topic of moving. Have you decided where to move to? Not yet, but I want her to move closer so that we can take care of each other if anything happens. Then let's do it here. It's convenient and close to us. I think so too, but it still depends on whether she likes it or not. By the way, find a few more people to help tomorrow. I'm worried that a long night will bring trouble. The sooner we move, the better. Okay. It turned out that Su Yiyan, who had witnessed the tragedy of Ling Xiaoqi's previous life, was very prescient. Qin Fangde had been suppressing his anger for the past few days. He had thought that little girls of this age were the easiest to deceive. Besides, Ling Xiaoqi had not had a father around since she was a child, so she should be most eager for a father's love. As long as he played the role of a loving father, it was only a matter of time before he brought her home. Who would have thought that imagination was beautiful, but reality was cruel? Chapter 7:15. Qin Fangde didn't take the indifference the first time and the stern rejection the second time to heart. In his opinion, these were just the struggles of a child who didn't know how to react when she suddenly saw her biological father. The next time they met, the child would definitely understand and go back with him. Then there was no then. Qin Fangde was on the verge of exploding after being rejected at the door several times in a row. Where is she? What's going on? How can such a big person evaporate into thin air? Boss, the landlord of this house said that Miss moved out last night and settled the rent with her before she left. I think she won't come back. Qin Fangde raised his eyebrows and asked coldly, where did she move to? This. The bodyguards looked at each other and didn't know what to do. Seeing this, Qin Fangde became even angrier. What are you guys doing? Didn't I ask you to keep an eye on her? Now that she has moved out, you don't even know where she moved to? It's our negligence. Something happened last night and we were led away. When we came back, the light in Mrs. House was still on. We thought. Hearing this, Qin Fangde almost jumped up and kicked them a few times. What do you think? Thought she was still inside? She just used a little trick to fool you. I spent so much money to hire you and this is how you repay me? Trash. The leader of the bodyguards lowered his head and didn't dare to say anything. This was indeed their mistake. If Qin Fangde really wanted to hold them responsible, all of them could only bear the consequences. Qin Fangde was angry for a while, but he calmed down and asked with a sullen face, I asked you to check which company that girl is working in. Did you find it? Yes. The bodyguard wiped the cold sweat on his head. Miss is now working in an entertainment company. Qin Fangde's face darkened. Entertainment company? Star? Miss is not a star. She's just an internal staff member. Qin Fangde's face became better after hearing this. He snorted and said, what future can she have working in a small entertainment company? Having been in a high position for many years, Qin Fangde, who thought he had some status, really didn't care about a small entertainment company. He even had some prejudice against small stars in the entertainment industry. In particular, Ling Xiaoqi was still a girl. If her nephews at home found out that she was a celebrity, they might make an issue out of it. Luckily, Ling Xiaoqi was just an internal staff member and not an artist. Even so, Qin Fangde still didn't think much of it. He felt that being a small employee in an entertainment company, how could it be as relaxed and happy as being the eldest daughter of the Qin family? The bodyguards were as quiet as chickens and did not speak. Qin Fangde did not expect them to agree. What time does Xiaoqi usually get off work? Young Miss seems to get off work at 6 o'clock sharp recently. 6 o'clock? The few of you come with me to her company at 6 o'clock and wait outside. I don't believe that we can't find her. Qin Fangde's expression was gloomy, and his eyes faintly emitted a chill. Just as Su Yiyan and the others knew, his purpose of coming to find Ling Xiaoqi was not simple. On the surface, it seemed that he came for his daughter, but in fact he wanted to use her as a chess piece or even a shield to temporarily resist the fierce attacks of his nephews. Chapter 7:16. In addition, he had another purpose, which was to use Ling Xiaoqi to get help for himself. When Qin Fangde first found out that he had a daughter, he was both disappointed and relieved. He was glad that he still had a descendant. Although it wasn't a son, having a daughter had its benefits. She was easy to control and would not cause trouble. If anything happened, she would have to rely on him. He did not have to worry about her escaping his control once she grew up. Most importantly, he could use her to form a marriage alliance and strengthen his bloodline. Before he came, Qin Fangde had already selected a suitable marriage partner for Ling Xiaoqi from all the young talents in Sea City. When the two of them got married, the strength of his bloodline would increase greatly. In a year or two his grandson would be born. He was only in his early 50s now. It would not be a problem for him to stay in his current position for another 10 or 20 years. When that time came, he could hand over the company to his grandson instead of letting his nephews take advantage of it. It had to be said that although Ling Xiaoqi had never met her scumbag of a father before this, they were still connected by heart. Based on the information that Su Yiyan and Hua Jinyao gave her, she had a rough idea of Qin Fangde's thoughts. It was impossible for Qin Fangde to hand over everything that he had worked so hard to get to Ling Xiaoqi. He was a very traditional and straight man. If his son was still alive, he would never bring Ling Xiaoqi back to acknowledge her ancestors. He even felt a little uncomfortable about handing over the company to his grandson instead of his grandson. But so what? It was impossible for him to have another child in this lifetime. Without Ling Xiaoqi he really had no hope for the rest of his life. Even so, in his eyes, whether it was Ling Xiaoqi or his illusory grandson, they were just chess pieces that he could pinch in his hand when necessary. From the beginning he had never put them in the position of relatives, let alone father and daughter affection. If Su Yiyan knew about his thoughts, she would definitely pick up a big iron pot and hit him in the face to tell him not to touch her best friend. Hua Chenhuan went to the shareholders' meeting of the Hua Corporation. He didn't say anything when he came back, but from his expression, he seemed to be in a good mood. He was in a good mood, which meant that Hua Qihan was definitely not in a good mood. Su Yiyan was now watching this family's misfortune as a source of amusement. Every now and then she would hear people talking about what kind of joke this family had made. However, what Su Yiyan did not expect was, "Hua Xiaofeng wants to see me?" "Yes, Mr. Hua is downstairs right now. He said he won't go back until he sees you. Do you think we should get someone to chase him out?" Because of the incident with Hua Chenhuan, Uncle Zhang did not have a good impression of Hua Qihan's family. In addition, he also knew about Su Yiyan and Hua Xiaofeng's troublesome affairs, so he politely declined this person's invitation. However, no matter how much he hated this person, he could not chase him out without asking for the owner's opinion. That was why he came up to ask Su Yiyan for her opinion. Su Yiyan reached out and touched her small belly, which was already showing a little. She thought for a moment and said in a low voice, "I'll go down to see him." Uncle Zhang was shocked. "But you, call a few more people over? Don't let him get close to me." Uncle Zhang understood and immediately went to arrange it. When Su Yiyan went down, it was quite a big lineup. 4 or 5 bodyguards in black stood in front of her. It was obvious that they were guarding against Hua Xiaofeng. Hua Xiaofeng had no time to be angry about this. Instead, he focused all his attention on Su Yiyan's belly. "You're pregnant." Chapter 717. Su Yiyan glanced at him indifferently. He was different from the high-spirited and unrestrained person he was a year ago. Hua Xiaofeng, who had lost the heir of the Hua group and was embroiled in a family dispute, now looked exceptionally gloomy and dispirited. He exuded a sense of dejection from head to toe. Su Yiyan couldn't help but sigh when she saw this, but she didn't sympathize with him. If this person had a little self-awareness back then, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Su Yiyan quickly put away the astonishment she felt when she first saw him. She swaggered to the sofa opposite Hua Xiaofeng and sat down. She said indifferently, "I'm married. I have a husband and a family. Is it that surprising that I'm pregnant?" For some reason, these words pierced Hua Xiaofeng's heart, causing his face to darken. "Your belly is so obvious. I guess you're not in early pregnancy, but there's no news at all. It looks like Uncle doesn't care much about you and your child." Uncle Zhang, who had come down with them because he was worried, heard Hua Xiaofeng's words and had a fierce look in his eyes. Just as he was about to go up and scold this guy who dared to drive a wedge between his young master and young madam, he heard his young madam suddenly ask, "Are you an idiot?" The room instantly fell silent. Hua Xiaofeng was stunned for a few seconds before he asked with a dark face, "What?" "My husband didn't tell anyone because he was worried that some stupid and bad idiots would find out that I'm pregnant and come here to cause trouble and disturb my rest. As for who he's guarding against, don't you know?" Su Yiyan said as she looked meaningfully at the bodyguards around her. Her meaning was self-evident. Hua Xiaofeng couldn't help but show some anger on his face. His hands hanging by his side clenched into fists. Su Yiyan admired Hua Xiaofeng's sorry state for a while and didn't want to be long-winded with him. Did you come here today just to ask about my relationship with my husband? Does he care about me? If so, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Our relationship is very good. Husband and wife are harmonious. Soon we'll have a group of children. If there's nothing else, I won't keep you any longer. I'm in a special situation now and need to rest. The words, a group of children, almost accurately pierced Hua Xiaofeng's heart. Ever since he got beaten up because of Su Yiyan, that part of him had been injured. Although it could still be used, it was still a lingering illness. Regardless of men's dignity, it wouldn't be easy for them to have children in the future. Mrs. Hua did not dare to tell him. She only said that it was temporary and that he would be cured soon if he cooperated with the treatment. However, he couldn't hide the truth forever. In the end, he overheard his mother's conversation with the doctor and found out about it. At that time he was filled with anger and wanted to tear Su Yiyan into pieces. But now, looking at the pregnant and happy Su Yiyan, he was in a trance for a moment. After losing everything and falling from the top, Hua Xiaofeng finally understood why Su Yiyan had always mocked him for being self-righteous. After losing the position of young master of the family Hua and the heir of the Hua Corporation, he was nothing in the eyes of others. He didn't deserve anything. If he hadn't chosen Wen Jingping back then and followed his family's arrangement to marry Su Yiyan, or perhaps if he had not been so self-righteous back then, after choosing Wen Jingping, he would have apologized to the Su family properly. Then both parties would have negotiated and peacefully cancelled the marriage. Would everything be different now? Chapter 7:18. Su Yiyan didn't know what Hua Xiaofeng was thinking. Seeing that he didn't respond for a long time, she rolled her eyes and got up to go upstairs. Wait. Hua Xiaofeng seemed to wake up from a dream and hurriedly called out to Su Yiyan. I'm here to ask you and uncle to cooperate. Cooperation? Su Yiyan widened her eyes in surprise and laughed. Why should we cooperate with you? Hua Xiaofeng choked and gritted his teeth. Doesn't uncle want the Hua group? If he doesn't want it, why would he attend the Hua group's shareholders meeting? You're well informed. Su Yiyan chuckled. So, how are you going to cooperate with us? You should have heard about what happened to our family. Hua Chenhuan looked up at Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan didn't say anything and just let him continue. My father is determined to divorce my mother and wants me and my mother to leave the marriage with nothing. It was expected, but Su Yiyan was still surprised by someone's coldness. Regardless of what Mrs. Hua was like, Hua Xiaofeng was still his son. If he were to leave the marriage with nothing, he would really become enemies with them. You don't want your mother to divorce him, or you don't want to leave the marriage with nothing. I don't want to, but I have no choice. So you want us to help you so that Hua Qihan can't divorce your mother? No. No. I've seen what kind of person he is, so I accept my fate. Su Yiyan didn't expect Hua Xiaofeng to say this. One had to know that a few months ago, this young master still looked like he had a deep grudge as if the whole world owed him. Now he was telling her that he had accepted his fate? What did Hua Qihan do to provoke him like this? Or was he lying to her? Since you've accepted your fate, why did you come to us? What do you want to do? Like I said, I want to work with you. I'll help you get the Hua Corporation and you help me kill Hua Qihan. Su Yiyan was stunned. He looked at Hua Xiaofeng as if he was looking at a rare toy. Hua Xiaofeng seemed to be provoked by the look in her eyes. He said loudly, You don't believe me? Why should I believe you? Are we close? Hua Xiaofeng stood up, his face flushed red. Just as he was about to speak, Su Yiyan interrupted him. First of all, where does a person who has been expelled from the Hua Corporation get the courage to tell others that you can help them get the company? If it were really that easy, you wouldn't have left in such a sorry state. Hua Xiaofeng's face darkened. He opened his mouth but was interrupted by Su Yiyan. Secondly, murder is against the law. I don't know what kind of conflict you and your father had that you would fight to the death. However, this is your business. We don't want to get involved and we don't need to. Whether your family lives or dies, it has nothing to do with us. Finally, let's not talk about whether Chenhuan cares about the Hua Corporation, which is now riddled with holes. Even if he really wants it, you should know that even without you, he has the ability to get what he wants. In this world, there's only what he wants and there's nothing he can't get. In that case, why should we work with you? Hua Xiaofeng listened to Su Yiyan's evaluation of Hua Chenhuan. He was angry and a little jealous. Do you trust him that much? Su Yiyan glanced at Hua Xiaofeng. Her eyes were full of indisputable persistence and pride. It's not a matter of whether I trust him or not. He's good enough. Chapter 719. Su Yiyan glanced at Hua Xiaofeng's dazed expression. She lifted her chin slightly and said coldly, "If that's all you want to say, then you've finished speaking and I've finished listening. Uncle Zhang, see the guest out." Wait. Hua Xiaofeng saw that Su Yiyan was really going to leave, so he asked someone to drive him out. Finally he became anxious. "I have evidence of Hua Qihan's corruption and murder. As long as you have this evidence, you can easily take him down and take the whole corporation into your own hands." Taking bribes, bending the law, and killing for money? Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. "Since you have such evidence, why don't you make it public yourself? You said so much just now. Don't you want Hua Qihan to be doomed eternally?" Hua Xiaofeng was stunned, and his hands that were hanging by his side tightened again. "Even if you don't say it, I know that you can't release it." Su Yiyan saw through his thoughts at a glance. "Even if you really have evidence that can make Hua Qihan fall to pieces, with your current status and personal ability, it's impossible to release it and make a big deal out of it. Moreover, it's impossible to guarantee that you won't be implicated because of this matter afterward. So, you came to us and wanted us to help you." Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief and sneered. "In the end, you just want to turn us into a knife in your hand and use us to kill people. Do you think Chen Huan and I are such stupid people? Even if we are, so what?" Since he had been seen through, Hua Xiaofeng did not beat around the bush anymore. He simply said, "I do want to use you, but isn't this good for you at all? If you want the whole group, it's inevitable that you will overthrow my father. What I want is the inevitable result. In general, this matter has more advantages than disadvantages for you, doesn't it?" Su Yiyan heard this and finally looked at Hua Xiaofeng for a while. "I haven't seen you for a while, but you've grown a lot." Hua Xiaofeng's brows furrowed slightly. For some reason, his mood suddenly became somewhat complicated. "So, are you going to work with me or not?" Su Yiyan did not answer his question directly. Instead he asked, "What are the specifics?" "You only have one request, which is for Hua Qihan to die or for him to suffer a fate worse than death. I can give you all these things, but after it's done, you have to give me a sum of money so that I can take my mother away." Su Yiyan declined to comment. Hua Xiaofeng pursed his lips and continued, "Other than that, I want you to promise me that you'll destroy Wen Jingping's reputation." Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and pretended not to know. "Isn't Wen Jingping your girlfriend? You two are having an argument and you want us, your elders, to stand up for you? If word gets out, I'm afraid that outsiders will say that we're bullying the young and taking advantage of our seniority." Hua Xiaofeng glared at Su Yiyan angrily. He did not believe that the person in front of him did not know that Wen Jingping had left him. Now that he said this, it was obvious that he wanted to see him make a fool of himself. Su Yiyan met his gaze calmly and said with a faint smile, "Don't you think you're asking for too much?" Hua Xiaofeng trembled all over. He had already tasted a little blood in his mouth. He lowered his head and was silent for a long time. Then he reluctantly said, "I know. I know the truth about my grandparents' deaths. As long as you help me complete what I just said, I will tell you." Su Yiyan's eyes narrowed slightly. The confident expression on his face suddenly froze at this moment. Chapter 720. A strange silence spread throughout the hall. Even Uncle Zhang, who had been standing guard at the side, couldn't help but widen his eyes in disbelief. After the initial shock, Su Yiyan quickly calmed down. Her eyes were slightly cold as she frowned and said, "Grandpa, Grandma, are you talking about Chenhuan's parents? Didn't Chenhuan's parents pass away in an accident?" Hua Xiaofeng sneered and said sarcastically, "How can there be so many accidents in this world?" Even someone as calm as Su Yiyan couldn't help but feel nervous the moment she heard his words. "You mean that Chenhuan's parents didn't pass away in an accident, but were killed by someone?" Hua Xiaofeng looked up at Su Yiyan and chuckled. "Are you trying to gain something without risking anything? Do you think I'm that stupid?" Su Yiyan thought to herself, "In my heart, you really are that stupid." However, she only replied, "How do I know if you're telling the truth? Whether it's true or not, you'll naturally have to investigate it yourself. Do you think you'll believe me just because I say it? I've already shown you my greatest sincerity. Now it's your turn." Hua Xiaofeng's attitude was very clear. This was already all his trump cards. If he told them now, what would he use to play with? Since they were both on guard against each other, then it would depend on whose trump card was more valuable and how much help they could provide to the other. Of course, Su Yiyan couldn't promise him too much just because of this specious statement. However, if she really rejected him, what if Hua Xiaofeng really knew something? I can't make this decision alone. When Chenhuan comes back, I'll tell him and give you an answer then. Su Yiyan didn't reject him on the spot. For Hua Xiaofeng, this was already a good result. However, when he heard her words, he couldn't help but say out of habit, "Didn't you say that he loves you very much? Why don't you even have the right to make such a small decision? Do you still need to ask him?" Pay attention to your words. You have to ask him if he wants to cooperate with you. You don't have to ask him if he wants to reject you on the spot. Su Yiyan coldly glanced at Hua Xiaofeng and warned, "Don't forget who is begging whom now. Uncle Zhang, see them out." Hua Xiaofeng was infuriated by Su Yiyan's attitude. He didn't even wait for Uncle Zhang and the others to chase him away politely. He turned around and left. However, after he walked out of the family Hua, he seemed to have thought of something. He paused and turned around to take a deep look at the house. Many emotions flashed through his eyes. In the end, he didn't say anything and quickly left. When Hua Chenhuan found out that Hua Xiaofeng had come to his house to look for his wife, he rushed home as fast as he could. Su Yiyan was not surprised by Hua Chenhuan's early return. She smiled faintly and said, "If the boss takes the lead and skips work, what will happen if his subordinates follow suit? They won't dare." Hua Chenhuan looked Su Yiyan up and down. When he was sure that she and the children were fine, he breathed a sigh of relief. Even if they don't dare, they can't lead this bad example. As punishment, you will make dumplings with the chef at home tonight. Tomorrow, bring them to the company as an apology to the employees you stood up. Okay. Hua Chenhuan agreed without thinking. He reached out and pulled Su Yiyan into his arms. He sighed and said, "I was worried when I heard that Hua Xiaofeng came to look for you. What are you worried about? There are so many people at home. What can he do to me?" Su Yiyan looked up at Hua Chenhuan and chuckled. "Are you jealous that I met with him alone?" Chapter 721. Although he didn't say anything about her engagement with Hua Xiaofeng, he had always been concerned about it. At that time, he was so self-conscious that he didn't even dare to say that he liked her because of his health. In the end, she was the one who took the initiative to win him over. Now he was jealous. Really, Hua Chenhuan was exposed and he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. He tried to change the topic. "What did you talk about? Didn't they tell you what we talked about?" Su Yiyan was referring to Uncle Zhang and the bodyguards at home. In addition to protecting her, these people also reported her situation at home to Hua Chenhuan in detail every day. Su Yiyan knew that he was worried about her, so she didn't reject it. Hua Chenhuan was silent for a moment and whispered, "I want to hear it from you." "Actually, we didn't talk about anything. It's just..." Su Yiyan simply repeated what Hua Xiaofeng said and asked curiously, "What did Hua Qihan do to make Hua Xiaofeng angry?" "He actually forced Hua Xiaofeng to come to us for cooperation. I've lived a long life." It had to be said that Hua Xiaofeng suddenly came to them to talk about cooperation. Su Yiyan was indeed a little scared. She couldn't tell what was wrong. She just felt that she had been following the family drama for a long time with great interest. She didn't know why she suddenly missed several episodes. When she watched again, she couldn't understand a lot of things. A cornered dog will do something desperate. A cornered dog will do something desperate? Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. What did he do? He drove Hua Xiaofeng and his mother out and hired a group of people to assassinate them. Su Yiyan was shocked. She thought that it was shocking enough to hear Hua Xiaofeng say that he wanted to cooperate with them to kill Hua Qihan. She didn't expect. Is he crazy? No matter what, Hua Xiaofeng and his mother are still his wife and children. Even if he no longer has feelings for them, he doesn't have to kill them all. Hua Chenhuan was actually a little confused about this matter. Based on her understanding of Hua Qihan, it stood to reason that he would not be so ruthless. If he really had such courage, he wouldn't have been stuck in the same spot all these years and led the whole corporation to rely on its original assets. Wait, Su Yiyan frowned. Could it be that what Hua Xiaofeng said was true? He really has evidence of Hua Qihan's crimes. This is the only explanation. When Su Yiyan said this, he subconsciously raised his head and glanced at Hua Chenhuan. He deliberated and said, "Actually, other than what I just said, he also said something else." "What?" "He said that he knew the truth behind your parents' death." As soon as Su Yiyan said this, Hua Chenhuan's face darkened at a speed visible to the naked eye. Su Yiyan's heart trembled. She braced herself and asked tentatively, "Uncle? Didn't Dad and Mom die in an accident? No. Unexpectedly, although Hu Qinhuan's expression was ugly, he still answered Su Yiyan's question. Their car was tampered with. Su Yiyan was shocked. Tampered with? Who was it? Hu Qinhuan shook his head. At that time his parents had died one after another and the whole family was in a mess. He himself was in such a terrible state that he had no energy to investigate whether the tragedy was an accident or man-made. When he recovered a little and realized that there was something fishy about it, the relevant traces had basically been erased. The dead told no tales. Chapter 722. If it weren't for the clues in the test report, perhaps even he himself would think that it was an unavoidable accident. Su Yiyan couldn't help but reach out to hold his hand and comfort him. It's okay. We'll find it sooner or later. Then he thought of Hu Xiaofeng's words. Does Hu Xiaofeng really know something? Before you came back, I didn't know much about this matter. I didn't refuse or agree to his good intentions. I only said that I would discuss it with you when you came back. Do you want to ask him? Hu Qinhuan's eyes flashed slightly and he nodded. I'll deal with this matter. You just focus on taking care of the baby. I'm here for you. Su Yiyan knew that Hu Qinhuan didn't want him to be involved in this matter, so he didn't continue to ask and nodded obediently. Hu Qinhuan smiled slightly and touched Su Yiyan's face, which had finally gained some weight. There was a smile in his eyes. By the way, my uncle is coming back. Your uncle? Su Yiyan blinked and looked surprised. When? In a few days he may come to see you. See me? Su Yiyan's heart suddenly thumped and he looked flustered. Do I need to prepare anything? Is there anything your uncle doesn't want to talk about? Do I need to pay attention to anything? Don't be nervous. He's just coming to see you. He won't do anything to you. Su Yiyan wasn't comforted at all. Instead, he stared at Hu Qinhuan for a long time and said carefully, Are you not on good terms with him? Hu Qinhuan was slightly stunned. Why do you ask? You haven't mentioned him before. The last time you mentioned him, you didn't seem to want to talk about it. Hu Qinhuan was silent for a long time after hearing that, and then he said in a hoarse voice, It's not that we don't have a good relationship, but there are some contradictions. Contradictions? My uncle was originally a special member of a special department who specialized in dangerous work. Most of the people he came into contact with were the most vicious people in the world. The only time Hu Qinhuan mentioned her uncle in front of Su Yiyan was when she was worried that Hai Entertainment would maliciously compete with Luo Baoging and his wife in order to suppress Dong Cheng. At that time, when Hu Qinhuan mentioned him, although it was only a few words, Su Yiyan still felt that this uncle whom he had never met before was not a simple person. He just didn't expect him to have such an identity. Back then, when my parents passed away, he rushed back as soon as he received the news and gave me a document. Information. Yes, it was this document that let me know that my parents didn't die in an accident. Then, my uncle tried his best to find out the truth, but he accidentally discovered that his enemy seemed to be involved in this matter. Su Yiyan was stunned and immediately understood what Hu Qinhuan meant. Due to the special nature of her uncle's profession, it was inevitable that he would provoke some terrible enemies. These enemies couldn't do anything to him, so it was very likely that they would make a move on his family. I was young at that time, and because of what happened to my parents, I was quite depressed. After I found out about it, I had a one-sided argument with him. When Su Yiyan heard this, she hugged his waist and curled up in his arms, trying to give him warmth with her body temperature. When the family Hu's accident happened, Hu Qinhuan was only in his teens. He suddenly lost his parents, and not long after he found out that his parents' tragedy was most likely caused by another relative. It was a double blow. Chapter 723. Hu Qinhuan hugged Su Yiyan back inside. I blamed him for my parents' deaths and thought that he was the one who killed them. Later he quit his job and went abroad alone. Maybe he knew that I hated him, so he never came back. Hu Qinhuan lowered his head and met Su Yiyan's distressed gaze. He said self-mockingly, Do you think I'm being unreasonable? Obviously you can't blame him for this at all. Not to mention that they couldn't be sure whether this matter was really caused by the enemies of Hu Qinhuan's uncle. Even if it was, they shouldn't blame Hu Qinhuan's uncle. Hu Qinhuan also knew this, so he regretted it after he calmed down. However, at that time, there was already a psychological problem. It was as if he had walked into a dead end and blindly went into a dead end. He thought that if his uncle wasn't in this line of work, he wouldn't have provoked these people. Would his parents and even himself not be the target of their revenge? Later, when he realized that he couldn't blame his uncle, he thought that if they hadn't rushed back to celebrate his birthday, those people wouldn't have found the opportunity to assassinate them. His uncle was responsible for his parents' deaths, but how could he not be responsible? When Su Yiyan heard his words, she immediately remembered what Uncle Zhang said to her that day. She subconsciously tightened her arms around Hua Qinhuan. You didn't do anything wrong. Uncle didn't do anything wrong. The people who are wrong are those who murdered your parents. Don't torture yourself with other people's mistakes. This will only fuel their arrogance and make the people who love you sad. Hua Qinhuan was silent for a long time after hearing this. Then he chuckled and said, "You're right. You just said that he never came back after he went abroad. Then the hotel you mentioned last time? Uncle's businesses are mostly overseas, but they cover a wide range. He also cooperates with domestic companies. And the hotel isn't the only business under his name. The people I sent to protect Luo Baoging were basically his people." Hua Qinhuan paused and said in a low voice, "After he resigned, he took most of his men with him. However, he trained another group of people to protect me." Su Yiyan was stunned. "He's worried that those people will come back to take revenge if they know that you're not dead?" "Yes." Su Yiyan was worried that the uncle and nephew didn't have a good relationship and that she would be stuck in the middle. Now, it seemed that one was still worried about his nephew even when he was hiding abroad. Even if he was blamed, he still put his nephew's safety first. In fact, the other one had long regretted his actions. However, after such a long time, coupled with his pride, he didn't know how to break the deadlock. "How about this? When Uncle comes back, I'll personally cook a welcome banquet for him. Everyone can have a meal together and talk." They were all family. How could there be any overnight grudges? It's been so long. It's time to let it go. Su Yiyan suddenly asked, "Your mother's relationship with your uncle should be good, right?" "Yes, they have a good relationship." "That's right. If your mother was still here, she wouldn't want to see the two of you like this." Hua Qinhuan's eyes flickered. She replied in a low voice, "Yes." "Then it's settled. Go and ask your uncle if he has any favorite dishes. Or what flavor of food he likes. I'll prepare them in advance." Chapter 724. Su Yiyan said this deliberately to give Hua Qinhuan a reason to take the initiative to talk to his uncle. Hua Qinhuan knew this, but she didn't say anything. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows, but she didn't intend to let him go so easily. "What? I'm pregnant now and my body is cumbersome. Can't I order you around?" She pretended to be angry, but she didn't forget to use the baby in her belly to add weight. She was really a clever little girl. Hua Qinhuan looked at her and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He did not remember to hesitate or be in a difficult position. Naturally, he agreed to any request. Okay. I'll ask when I have time." "No, I want to know my uncle's preferences tomorrow. If you can't complete the task, you'll sleep in the guest room tomorrow night." In order to prevent someone from disobeying, Su Yiyan went all out. Sure enough, when Hua Qinhuan heard the words, "sleep in the guest room," her eyes turned cold and her face became serious. "Okay, honey. I promise to complete the task." "That's more like it." Su Yiyan nodded with satisfaction. When she was about to say something, Hua Qinhuan's phone suddenly rang. Hua Qinhuan glanced at the screen and her eyes flashed. She picked up the phone in front of Su Yiyan. After a few words, Hua Qinhuan's face darkened quickly. "What's wrong?" Hua Qinhuan hung up the phone. "Ling Xiaoqi? Something happened." "What?" Slow down. Ling Xiaoqi was still in shock. When she got out of the car with a pale face, she saw Su Yiyan running out with an obvious belly. Hua Qinhuan was beside her, anxiously protecting her to prevent her from falling. "Yan." Ling Xiaoqi seemed to have found her backbone and took the initiative to hug Su Yiyan. Su Yiyan saw that Ling Xiaoqi came back safe and sound with her own eyes. She was relieved, but she still said nervously, "I heard from Qinhuan that the man went to find you and had a conflict with you. Are you hurt anywhere?" Ling Xiaoqi let go of Su Yiyan and shook her head. "I'm fine. I'm not hurt. This time, thanks to someone's help, I'm fine. I didn't suffer any losses." Hua Qinhuan was worried about Su Yiyan's health, so she reminded her, "It's cold at night. Let's talk inside." Yes. Let's talk inside. Are you scared? I'll ask the kitchen to prepare some calming tea for you. Why don't you stay here for the night and go back tomorrow morning?" As Su Yiyan spoke, he was about to pull Ling Xiaoqi inside when he unexpectedly saw a familiar figure. President Ning? The man who came out from the other side of Ling Xiaoqi's car was actually the young master of the Ning family, Ning Xiyuan? How did you? Ling Xiaoqi saw Su Yiyan's reaction and knew that they did know each other. She said embarrassedly, Yan. He helped me just now. Su Yiyan's eyes widened in surprise. He couldn't understand how these two people were related. A few minutes later, a group of people sat in the living room of the family's old house and listened to Ling Xiaoqi talk about what happened not long ago. At that time it happened too suddenly. Those people suddenly pounced on me and I was also shocked. Fortunately, the bodyguards reacted quickly and surrounded me in time to protect me. But he brought too many people with him. The bodyguards had to stop them and protect me at the same time. It was really not easy. Fortunately, Mr. Ning appeared in time and helped to drive them away. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. Chapter 725. That's too much. Su Yiyan had expected that someone would shamelessly snatch her away if pushed too far. However, she was still infuriated by someone's shamelessness. They dare to snatch people so brazenly in front of so many people. Are they sure that the Qin clan is omnipotent and no one can do anything to them? Su Yiyan was so angry that Huo Chenhuan was beside her to calm her down. She was afraid that she would lose her head in anger and hurt herself and the child in her belly. She quickly changed the topic to Ning Xiyuan. President Ning, what brings you to East City today? I'm here to look for Chirue. He's been busy with work these days and hasn't been home for a few days. My parents are worried that he's recovering from a serious illness and can't take it, so they asked me to take the time to visit him. I didn't expect to see Miss Ling surrounded by a group of people when I arrived at your company's parking lot. Ning Xiyuan didn't expect that the person he saved would know Su Yiyan. Later, when he heard Ling Xiaoqi say that she wanted to call Su Yiyan, he realized that he had saved a friend of an acquaintance. I see. Su Yiyan was both angry and relieved. She sighed in relief and said, President Ning, thank you so much for your help this time. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened to my friend. Miss Su, you're too kind. This is what I should do. Even if it was just a stranger who encountered such a situation, I couldn't just stand by and do nothing, not to mention that Miss Ling is your friend. You've helped our family so much before. You're our benefactor. It's my honor to be able to help you now. Su Yiyan knew that Ning Xiyuan was talking about Ning Chirue's illness and his own asthma. She laughed dryly and felt a little guilty. After all, when she decided to treat them in the first place, her intentions weren't that simple. Ling Xiaoqi was surprised and confused when she heard Ning Xiyuan's words. Why did it sound like Su Yiyan had helped their family a lot? Well, no matter what, I still want to thank you. I owe you a favor. If you need anything in the future, as long as it's within my power, just let me know. Ning Xiyuan's eyes lit up. Su Yiyan's promise was more sincere than any gratitude. Su Yiyan thought about it carefully and still felt a little scared. He did this because he was driven to desperation and didn't care about anything else. You'd better not go out for the next few days. Fortunately, President Ning was here today. Otherwise, you would probably be on your way to Sea City by now. Yeah. When Ling Xiaoqi thought of Qin Fengda's hideous and ugly appearance when he shed all pretense of cordiality, she felt somewhat upset. Although her mother had never hidden anything about Qin Fengda, and she didn't have a good impression of her father since she was young, her imagination was still a little different from reality. Seeing this person's true appearance with her own eyes, Ling Xiaoqi was still a little shocked, and she felt a little uncomfortable. What kind of monster did her mother encounter back then? Su Yiyan could roughly guess what was on her mind when she saw her expression. She secretly cursed that some scum really didn't deserve to be a parent. Let's not talk about him. I'm afraid you've had quite a scare today. Sleep well tonight and you'll be fine when you wake up tomorrow. Su Yiyan paused and said coldly, You don't have to worry about that man. Since he dared to do this, he can't blame us for being rude to him. Yeah. A cold light flashed in Ling Xiaoqi's eyes. What he did today, if we call the police, can we arrest him? Chapter 726. Su Yiyan was stunned. He didn't expect Ling Xiaoqi to be so resolute that she wanted to send someone to the police station. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it's a little difficult. You're related to him by blood after all. If you really call the police, he can say that he had a conflict with a rebellious child. Although his behavior is a little extreme, it's understandable. It's also difficult for the people there. In the end, they can at most treat it as a family dispute and mediate. They won't really do anything to him. Nowadays, girls walking on the road were robbed by human traffickers. After being caught, they would lie and say that they mistakenly thought that the other party was their girlfriend to get away with it. Not to mention that Ling Xiaoqi and Qin Fangde were father and daughter by blood. As long as they didn't kill each other, it would be difficult to report or manage. Ling Xiaoqi actually knew this, but she was a little unwilling. Some parents were not as reliable as strangers. She knew that the other party was here to harm her. Just because they were related by blood, she was completely in a passive state. How unfair was that? However, since she had asked such a question, it could be seen that she really wanted to draw a line with the other party completely. Okay, don't be angry. Although we can't call the police to arrest him, it's not impossible to make him suffer if you really want to. You've been frightened today. Have a good rest first. Tomorrow we'll have a good discussion and help you vent your anger. Okay. Su Yiyan saw that she gradually calmed down and smiled faintly. You can stay with us tonight and go back tomorrow. Ling Xiaoqi shook her head. No, I've moved out. He doesn't know where I live now. Besides, Huahua is still at home. I don't feel at ease leaving it alone at home. Then you be careful alone. Su Yiyan said and turned to look at Huo Chenhuan. Huo Chenhuan immediately understood. I'll call a few more people to guard you. Don't worry. Ling Xiaoqi's heart was warmed. She nodded and accepted the couple's kindness. Ling Xiaoqi got up to leave. Ning Xiyuan also stood up. I should go back to find Chirue, so I won't bother you anymore. The group of people left the family hall one after another. Su Yiyan's gaze followed them all the way out. From afar, she saw that Ning Xiyuan seemed to have said something to Ling Xiaoqi, and the two of them got into the same car just like how they came. Su Yiyan? What's wrong? Huo Chenhuan noticed that Su Yiyan had been staring at them with a strange expression. Do you feel that Ning Xiyuan's attitude towards our Xiaoqi isn't right? Is there? No. The two of them stared at each other for a while before Su Yiyan coughed softly and said, maybe it's just my imagination. Although she said that, Su Yiyan's sixth sense had already begun to warn her. She felt that something important was gradually leaving her. Qin Fangde didn't manage to kidnap Ling Xiaoqi and go back to Sea City with him. He also understood that after this incident, the so-called illusion of fatherly love and filial piety in his heart was completely shattered. After returning to the hotel, he lost his temper and smashed everything in his room. He also asked someone to find out who Ling Xiaoqi's bodyguards and the man who ran out to help in the end were. He had already checked. Ling Xiaoqi was single and had been living a hard life with her mother these years. It was impossible for her to know anyone with a big background. Why did so many special factors suddenly appear that he couldn't control? It was really disappointing. Chapter 727. Qin Fangde would never have guessed that it was not that Ling Xiaoqi did not have friends who could protect her, but that she had been used to relying on herself all these years and rarely asked for help from friends. She had known Su Yiyan for so long, but the only time she had asked her for help was when her mother had suddenly fallen ill and needed to be hospitalized for surgery. Unfortunately, even though she had borrowed money from Su Yiyan, her mother had passed away not long after the surgery. Not long after that, Ling Xiaoqi quickly pulled herself together and worked hard to earn money. Finally, she managed to repay all the money she owed Su Yiyan before she returned to China. Qin Fangde had yet to achieve his goal, and he was in a state where he could explode at any time. He was even thinking about how to forcibly bring her home. However, his ideas were destined to never be put into practice. When Qin Fangde sent someone to investigate Ling Xiaoqi and Ning Xiyuan, a phone call from City C ruined all his plans. No one knew what was said on the other end of the phone call. All they knew was that Qin Fangde rushed back to City C that very night and was flustered to deal with all kinds of attacks from his nephews. Even if he managed to hold on, he would definitely be severely injured. It would be impossible for him to cause trouble in front of Ling Xiaoqi in a short period of time. Su Yiyan was very satisfied when she found out. It was fine if Qin Fangde stayed obediently in City C, but if he dared to touch City A again, she would be the first to chop off his claws, even without Huo Chenhuan. After chasing Qin Fangde back to City C, Su Yiyan's hanging heart was temporarily at ease. She focused on preparing for Huo Chenhuan's uncle's welcome banquet. Huo Chenhuan's uncle's surname was Zheng, and his name was Zheng Qianyang. He looked to be in his early 50s and he was a very handsome and familiar man. The moment Su Yiyan saw him, she understood why her mother had always said that her nephew was Uncle Xiao. Zheng Qianyang looked like a middle-aged version of Huo Chenhuan. The two of them were at least 60 to 70% alike. However, compared to Huo Chenhuan, this powerful figure who had properties all over the world and had once worked in a special department, looked more weathered and dignified. Just by standing there, his entire body was filled with a chilling aura that kept people thousands of miles away. Huo Chenhuan would never act like this in front of her. Therefore, in Su Yiyan's eyes, the original 60 to 70% resemblance between the two of them was only 50%. While Su Yiyan was sizing up Su Yiyan, Zheng Qianyang was also very curious about his niece-in-law. Yan Yan, right? Hello, I'm Chenhuan's uncle. If you don't mind, you can also call me uncle. Su Yiyan could see Zheng Qianyang's restraint. She guessed that he still hadn't gotten over what had happened that year. In front of Huo Chenhuan, there was always some awkwardness and helplessness. She smiled and said obediently, "Hello, uncle. Must have been hard on you. I specially prepared some food, but I don't know if it's to your liking. It's not early now. Why don't we have a meal first? We can talk later." When Zheng Qianyang heard Su Yiyan's words, he was also stunned. He couldn't help but remember that Huo Chenhuan had suddenly sent him a message a few days ago, asking if he had any special preferences. At that time, Zheng Qianyang was pleasantly surprised and at a loss. He couldn't figure out what Huo Chenhuan's intention was. Later, he suddenly remembered that the people around Huo Chenhuan seemed to have mentioned that his niece-in-law often cooked and was very good at it. He could roughly guess who had asked him to ask this question. Chapter 728. However, Zheng Qianyang wasn't very particular about food. In addition, he was usually busy with work and basically drank nutrient solutions with his subordinates, so he casually replied. He thought that Huo Chenhuan was just asking casually, but now, listening to his niece-in-law's tone, it seemed like she had really specially prepared a welcome banquet for him. Uncle Zhang saw the embarrassment and awkwardness of the uncle and niece. When he heard Su Yiyan's words, he smiled and said, "Young madam's culinary skills can't even compare to the family's chef. Mr. Zheng is in for a treat today." Uncle Zhang was an old man who had served the family Huo for many years, so he naturally knew Zheng Qianyang. Hearing him say this, Zheng Qianyang's inexplicably tense expression finally relaxed a little, and he replied in a low voice, "Yes." What Zheng Qianyang didn't know was that his casual reply back then had only been conveyed to Su Yiyan by his straight-laced nephew. He was not picky about food. This perfunctory reply made Su Yiyan so angry that she laughed. In a fit of anger, she sent Huo Chenhuan to sleep in the guest room for 2 days. Huo Chenhuan, who had been alone in an empty room for 2 days and hadn't slept well, looked at the big table of dishes and Zheng Qianyang's gaze, which faintly revealed a deep and cold light. Zheng Qianyang? Zheng Qianyang, who was inexplicably despised, would never have thought that his tragedy stemmed from a casual remark he made a few days ago. He only thought that Huo Chenhuan's attitude toward him was because she still couldn't let go of what happened in the past, so he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed and sad. Soon, Zheng Qianyang didn't have the energy to be sad and think about the depressing past. The most distressing thing in the world was the word, casual. Su Yiyan hesitated for a few days, and when she thought about balding, she finally decided to bring out the almighty Mandarin duck hot pot. Unlike Huo Chenhuan, this was the first time that Zheng Qianyang had seen such a novel way of eating. Pointing at the billowing two-colored soup base, he asked curiously, This is called hot pot. It's a type of food from ancient Earth. The red and white soups had different tastes, so the cooked food would naturally taste different as well. Because I didn't know your taste in advance and I didn't know your preferences and taboos, I prepared this. I hope you don't mind." Of course, another main reason was that Huo Chenhuan couldn't bear to see Su Yiyan running around with a big belly. It didn't take much time or effort to prepare a table full of dishes. The most suitable dish was hot pot. Su Yiyan had made hot pot once before. At that time they didn't have a double hot pot, so they could only split it into 2 pots and cook it together. Later, when she saw that Gu Xiaoyang and the others liked to eat hot pot, she mentioned that they could organize department gatherings from time to time to communicate. The best way to have a meal together was to eat hot pot. It was convenient to satisfy most people's tastes. For convenience, they could make a double hot pot like this. The 2 flavors could be combined into 1 pot, and a table full of rich flavors could be eaten in 1 pot. When Gu Xiaoyang and the others heard Su Yiyan's words, they were very excited. When they went back, they asked people to prepare several double hot pots for them. They planned to buy ready-made hot pot base from the restaurant in the future for team building. Of course, they didn't forget to send 1 hot pot over. The double hot pot on the table was sent by Gu Xiaoyang and the others. Su Yiyan demonstrated how to eat hot pot in front of Zheng Qianyang. She also mentioned that a few dishes didn't need to be cooked for too long, and that they wouldn't taste good if they were too old. Then she let him do it himself. Zheng Qianyang watched for a while and then joined the hot pot team in high spirits. He learned how to cook all kinds of ingredients by himself. Chapter 729. As it turned out, people who looked like each other might have similar tastes as well. Hua Chenhuan liked to eat spicy food, so she usually only ate the spicy side of the hot pot. Zheng Qianyang was the same. At first, he was a little resistant to the bright red spicy hot pot and only ate the clear soup side. Later, he saw that his nephew kept eating the chili oil side. He hesitated for a while and tried to cook a piece of tripe in the chili oil side. At first, he was a little uncomfortable when it entered his mouth. After drinking a few mouthfuls of water, he felt that although the taste was stimulating, the aftertaste was quite strong. Out of curiosity, Zheng Qianyang tried a few more mouthfuls. The result was predictable. After experiencing the wonders of the chili oil, a certain someone no longer reached for the clear soup. He ate until he was sweating, but his hands did not slow down at all. Su Yiyan saw this scene and felt that the uncle and nephew were more and more alike. She could not help but smile a little more. Zheng Qianyang ate for a while and looked up at the two people opposite him. His expression was a little absent-minded for a moment. Su Yiyan was pregnant and could not eat spicy food, so she could only eat the clear soup. Hua Chenhuan watched her from the side and even helped her cook. Sometimes she would even feed her. Occasionally, Su Yiyan would covet the other side and stare at Hua Chenhuan for a while, and Hua Chenhuan's heart would soften. She would cook one or two things and put them in her bowl to mix with the clear soup. When it was less spicy, she would bring it to Su Yiyan's mouth and watch her eat. One was very happy to be fed, and the other was also very happy to be fed, completely forgetting that there was another person at the table. Zheng Qianyang looked at the two of them and could not help but think of when his sister and brother-in-law were still alive. His brother-in-law also took care of his sister in everything. No matter what he did, he would remember to take care of his sister first before thinking of himself. The two of them had a very good relationship, so every time he visited he felt relieved and envious. He always hoped that one day he could have such a happy family. Unfortunately, all of this was ruined because of him. Uncle? When Su Yiyan finished eating, she looked up and saw that Zheng Qianyang was in a daze and had not moved his chopsticks for a long time. She asked nervously, "Is it not to your liking? Do you want the kitchen to make something else?" Zheng Qianyang seemed to have woken up from a dream. No, this hot pot is delicious. It's the first time I've eaten something so delicious. Especially the red side. I wasn't used to it at first, but now I think it's getting better and better. Su Yiyan couldn't help but laugh when she heard what he said. Chili was something that could be grown quickly. The research institute had already planted a batch of them, and they tasted similar to the ones from Su Yiyan's farm. However, it would take some time for it to be on the market. This should be Zheng Qianyang's first time coming into contact with such a thing. His reaction was similar to that of Hua Chenhuan. It seems that uncle's taste is similar to Chenhuan's. He also likes spicy food. As soon as she said this, the two men at the dinner table were stunned. Their eyes inadvertently met, and there seemed to be something that wasn't there before. Su Yiyan pretended not to see it. She smiled and reminded them, "Although this chili oil soup is delicious, you can't eat too much. It's easy to get heaty. Uncle, remember to drink some of this 3-flower tea later. It's good for cooling down." When Zheng Qianyang heard this, he was even more touched by Su Yiyan's thoughtfulness. He was also happy that his nephew had good taste and married such a considerate wife. With Su Yiyan mediating between them, the atmosphere at the dinner table gradually warmed up. Zheng Qianyang also had some confidence to ask about the two's situation. "How old is the child?" "Almost 6 months. Do you know whether it's a boy or a girl?" "I don't know yet." Chapter 730. Su Yiyan turned to look at Hua Chenhuan and smiled. "We all think that it's the same whether it's a boy or a girl. Just let nature take its course." Zheng Qianyang nodded. He had just asked casually and did not mean anything else. It was fine as long as the two of them knew what they were talking about. By the time Zheng Qianyang arrived, it was already dark. It was already late after dinner. Su Yiyan knew that Zheng Qianyang had a house in the city, but it was a little far from where they lived. Even if he went back now, the house might not have been cleaned beforehand for him to move in immediately. Hence, he took advantage of the situation and invited Zheng Qianyang to stay at his house. They would be under the same roof and they would see each other frequently. Sooner or later, he would be able to resolve the awkward relationship between the two of them. Zheng Qianyang did not intend to stay, but when he heard that Su Yiyan wanted him to stay temporarily, he subconsciously glanced at Hua Qinhuan. Seeing that he didn't object, she unexpectedly agreed as if she was at the mercy of gods and devils. Considering that Zheng Qianyang must be tired from the long journey, Su Yiyan asked Uncle Zhang to take him upstairs to rest after dinner. Uncle Zhang was obviously very happy with Zheng Qianyang's arrival. The smile on his face did not fade at all. He led Zheng Qianyang to the guest room that had been prepared beforehand. Uncle Zhang did not forget to smile and say, "This is the room that young master and young madam specially prepared for you. The basic daily necessities are all in there. If you need anything else you can let me know. I will do my best to help you." Thank you for your hard work. You're welcome, sir. If there's nothing else you should rest early. Zheng Qianyang nodded. Just as he was about to close the door, he heard Uncle Zhang call out, "Sir. Is there anything else?" Uncle Zhang looked at the familiar yet somewhat unfamiliar man who had been away from home for more than 10 years. He said sincerely, "Welcome home." Zheng Qianyang's whole body trembled, and he subconsciously tightened his grip on the door handle. His eyes revealed a rare hint of emotion. Zheng Qianyang was no stranger to the guest room of the family Hua mansion. When Hua Qinhuan's parents were still alive, he often stayed over. Even when Hua Qinhuan was just born, there was a period of time when the two adults were rather busy. Moreover, due to their old age and lack of energy, he was the one who helped take care of her. Zheng Qianyang walked around the room, and his gaze suddenly fell on the photo placed on the bedside table. It was a group photo of the four of them. The corners of the photo were slightly yellowed. It should have been found recently and seen the light of day again. The four people in the photo were Hua Qinhuan's parents, Hua Qinhuan when she was still a child, and himself when he was young. This photo was taken on Hua Qinhuan's 5th birthday, and it was also the only photo of the four of them. He didn't expect it to be found and placed in this room. Looking at the photo, Zheng Qianyang thought about the peaceful dinner tonight and the words Uncle Zhang had said before he left. The mask on Zheng Qianyang's face was peeling off bit by bit, and his eyes reddened uncontrollably. After an unknown period of time, a vague and hoarse voice vaguely came from the spacious but dense room. "Sister, brother-in-law, I'm back." Zheng Qianyang was a little emotional because of the photo in the room. Little did he know that in another room about 10 meters away from him, his nephew was also being criticized and educated by his wife. "You behaved badly today. I have to educate you properly." "How did I behave badly today?" Hua Qinhuan didn't have the good virtue of knowing that she was wrong. She even slyly leaned over to Su Yiyan and kissed her. She said meaningfully, "Also, how are you going to educate me?" Chapter 731. Su Yiyan blushed and glared at Hua Qinhuan angrily. She was determined not to be seduced by a certain someone's beauty. "What did I tell you before? It's rare for uncle to come, so we have to treat him well. Besides, you were also at fault for what happened back then. You're a junior, so you have to speak first to ease the tension." "But you..." Su Yiyan snorted coldly. She was a little angry. When Zheng Qianyang came today, Hua Qinhuan held back for a long time and didn't say more than 3 words. She was the one who dealt with it the whole time. Did this uncle belong to her alone? She really couldn't have this husband anymore. Hua Qinhuan also knew that she was in the wrong. She touched her nose awkwardly and said, "I also wanted to speak first, but..." Hua Qinhuan was silent. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and said, "You can't speak?" Hua Qinhuan felt guilty under her gaze. He coughed softly and said, "He doesn't seem to want to talk to me, but he has a lot to say to you." Su Yiyan was very familiar with this sour tone. She almost laughed out of anger. She hadn't even said anything, but this guy was actually blaming her. "Look at your cold face as if someone owes you millions. Who wouldn't be afraid in front of you?" Su Yiyan couldn't help but roll her eyes. She said in disappointment, "Besides, uncle is an elder. Do you expect him to apologize to you first? Or are you still blaming him in your heart, thinking that he harmed your parents? No. Then why are you still like this?" Hua Qinhuan pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Su Yiyan guessed his thoughts. Sometimes the more you don't speak, the more you can't speak. If you lack the opportunity and courage, you can't kick the door open. You can only wait. Can't you be a good role model for our baby? It's fine if it's a girl, but if it's a boy who's as pretentious and two-faced as you, which girl will be willing to marry him in the future? Hua Qinhuan stared blankly for a moment, then said proudly, I married you. The hidden meaning was that no matter how much I said I didn't mean it, didn't I still marry the best? My son will definitely be able to marry a good woman like me in the future. Don't worry. She was obviously speaking in a disdainful tone, yet this fellow was actually feeling proud of himself. Su Yiyan was both angry and amused. That's because I'm thick-skinned. If it were other girls, they would have been scared away by your initial words. Thinking back to the first time they met alone, what did this guy say to her? What kind of leg can only be like this for the rest of my life and I won't be able to have children in the future? He was so honest that it was infuriating. If it wasn't for the fact that she was already dead set on marrying him, if it were any other girl, she might have really been scared away. Marrying a wife? Dream on. Is that so? Hua Qinhuan obviously also thought of the words he said to Su Yiyan when she first came to the old mansion. His eyes flashed and he immediately leaned over, hugged Su Yiyan and kissed her fiercely. Of course, this so-called kiss lasted a little long. When he let go, Su Yiyan's little face was still as red as a ripe peach. Humph, don't think that you can fool me by using your handsome man today. If you still do this tomorrow, you'll continue to sleep in the guest room for the next few days. The smile on Hua Qinhuan's face suddenly froze. He thought dangerously in his heart, sure enough, the kiss didn't last long enough. How could she still be in the mood to think about this? Chapter 732. When Su Yiyan was still in the Su family, she was a veritable princess. Even if the decisions she made were not immediately accepted, they would definitely be realized in the end. This fine tradition was perfectly passed down by Hua Qinhuan. The next morning, Su Yiyan got up early and had breakfast. She used the excuse of going to Ling Xiaoqi's place to see the Huahua and went out with the baby Huahua, giving the uncle and nephew who were still at odds with each other some private space to resolve their conflict. The gestation time of a dog was similar to that of a cat. Generally, a dog would give birth after 2 or 3 months. 10 days ago, the Huahua gave birth to 3 cute corgi puppies, 1 baby Huahua and 2 baby Dun-Dun. Su Yiyan liked the baby Huahua very much. As soon as the puppies were born, she wanted to bring them home. However, considering that she was pregnant, it would not be easy to take care of them if she brought them home, so she left them at Ling Xiaoqi's place. In a few months, when Su Yiyan gave birth to the babies, these puppies would also grow up. Then she would bring them home to accompany her babies. After Su Yiyan left, there was no one to smooth things over. The 2 men who looked similar sat in the hall and stared at each other, unable to say anything for a long time. Uncle Zhang was anxious and wanted to laugh at the same time. However, when he thought of Su Yiyan's instructions before she left, no matter how anxious he was, he did not step forward to smooth things over. The 2 of them sat like this for a long time. In the end, it was Zheng Qianyang who broke the silence first. Your injury was treated by Yan Yan. It was not a question but a confirmation. It meant that even if he was abroad, he had been paying attention to Hua Qinhuan's movements. He was not completely ignoring him. Hua Qinhuan naturally knew this. When he was first injured, he did not have the ability to protect himself. If it were not for the people Zheng Qianyang left around him, he would have been killed by those demons and ghosts before he could really become strong. Yes. She's a good girl. She cured you and now, she's pregnant with your child. Zheng Qianyang knew that Hua Qinhuan was unlikely to have a child because of the accident. Apart from a few people, Zheng Qianyang knew about it as well. Back then, Hua Qinhuan's parents and Hua Qinhuan had met with an accident one after another. Hua Qihan's family could not be counted on. Their hospitalization procedures and follow-up treatment were basically handled by Zheng Qianyang himself. Zheng Qianyang knew better than anyone else what had happened to Hua Qinhuan at that time. Therefore, when Zheng Qianyang found out that Hua Qinhuan's new wife was pregnant, his first reaction was not joy, but shock and anger. He felt that Su Yiyan must have cheated on Hua Qinhuan for her to be able to get pregnant. Hua Qinhuan, who was made a cuckold out of the blue. Why does everyone think that I should be made a cuckold? Do you all have some misunderstanding about my personal charm? Fortunately, although Zheng Qianyang was angry, he did not act rashly. Instead, he first sent people to investigate the members of the opposite sex who had contact with Su Yiyan. In the end, after half a month of investigation, he found that the members of the opposite sex who had contact with Su Yiyan were either her company's employees or her employees' family members. Putting aside the employees, Huo was also present when several of her business partners met. It could be said that there was no loophole in all aspects. It was also at this time that Zheng Qianyang finally believed that not only had Huo's legs recovered, but he had also recovered from a certain injury. He even had a child with his wife. Hearing Zheng Qianyang praise Su Yiyan, Huo's tense expression eased a little. She said softly, "In my eyes, she's the best person in the world." Chapter 733. Zheng Qianyang noticed the change in Huo's expression. He was gratified but also a little disappointed. After Huo's parents passed away, Huo was his only family in this world. Originally, the two of them depended on each other and treated each other as family. Now that Huo had his own happy little family, Zheng Qianyang was still all alone. It was inevitable that Zheng Qianyang would feel a little lonely. Huo seemed to have noticed the vulnerability that Zheng Qianyang inadvertently revealed. She suddenly realized that the man she had once admired and resented was no longer young. Time had not treated the man in front of her well. His sideburns had been stained with frost, and there were many wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. Perhaps in a few years, the straight back of the man in front of her would gradually become bent, and his mind would gradually become blurry. He would remember some people, but most of the time he would forget some people. Realizing this, Huo suddenly felt that many things were not so important. Sorry. The words that had been in her mouth the day before, and she could not say no matter how hard she tried. The moment she said them, she realized that it did not seem as difficult as she had imagined. Zheng Qianyang was stunned for a few seconds before he realized what Huo had said. His eyes suddenly widened. Some things only needed to be said once the first sentence was said, and the rest would be much simpler. When my parents died, I lost control of my emotions and made trouble for no reason. I blamed their death on you. It was my fault. Zheng Qianyang's heart skipped a beat. He subconsciously called out, "Qinhuan? Whether my parents' death was an accident or man-made, it doesn't matter. You were not the one who hurt them, and the one who needs to pay the price for atonement is not you." Zheng Qianyang was completely stunned. He hoped that he could restore his relationship with Huo and become family again, but he was also afraid that all this was just his wishful dream. After a long while, he finally found his voice and said with difficulty, "Do you really think so? It's very likely that your parents were implicated by me." Huo stared at Zheng Qianyang for a long time and sighed softly. "I've thought about it for a long time. If my parents knew that they died because of you, would they blame you?" Zheng Qianyang's body stiffened, and his face suddenly turned pale. "No." "What?" "The answer is no," Huo said with absolute certainty. "Even if they knew that their deaths might have something to do with you, even if they knew that those who harmed them might be your enemies, they would not blame you." "In that case, what right do I have to blame you?" "No. You have the right to blame me." Qinhuan's eyes as a child. Was as a child. Huo closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was a hint of relief in his eyes. Yen said that you shouldn't punish yourself with other people's sins because it will only make the people who love you sad and the people who hurt you happy. I am, and so are you. Of course, Zheng Qianyang knew this. But sometimes, it was easy for people to walk into a dead end. Huo's hateful gaze back then had become a demon that had haunted him for many years. He would even suddenly wake up from his dreams in the middle of the night. After that, he would not be able to fall asleep again. He would sit there night after night until dawn. He wanted to come back, but he didn't dare to. He was afraid that he would meet his nephew's hateful gaze the moment he came back. But now this nephew, whom he knew he owed a lot, was telling him that none of this was his fault, and that he had stopped blaming him a long time ago. Zheng Qianyang wanted to laugh, but before he could smile, his eyes had already turned red. Chapter 734. By the time Su Yiyan came back, the two of them had pretty much finished talking. After a frank and open discussion, the two of them who had untangled the knot in their hearts were no longer as reserved and awkward as before. "Even though I've been away for the past few years, I roughly know a lot of things that have happened around you. I want to help you, but I'm worried that you'll still hate me and won't want my help." He could only secretly help her. Huo knew what he meant. Zheng Qianyang thought that no one knew about his little trick. But in reality he had already discovered it a few years ago. He just didn't want to expose it. It was clearly just a thin layer of gauze. As long as one of them took the initiative to take a step forward, there would be a chance to turn things around. But no one was willing to be the first to take a step forward. I thought that you would never forgive me in this lifetime. I didn't expect that you would actually take the initiative to apologize to me. Zheng Qianyang knew Hua Qinhuan's temperament. Before this, he never thought that he would forgive him. Even if he did, given his temperament, he definitely wouldn't take the initiative to admit defeat. The best outcome Zheng Qianyang could think of was that the two of them wouldn't interfere with each other and would be strangers for the rest of their lives. Who would have thought? When Hua Qinhuan heard him say this, she looked up at him and said calmly, "Yin Yin said." When Zheng Qianyang heard these 3 words, his eyelids twitched for some reason. He had a feeling that there was a huge secret behind this. Sure enough, the next second Hua Qinhuan said, "If I don't talk to you properly, I'll have to sleep in the guest room for the next few days." Zheng Qianyang? After all this time, you're actually a henpecked husband? It's fine if you're a henpecked husband, but why do you sound so proud of yourself when you say this? It seems that a henpecked husband like you is quite proud of himself? Zheng Qianyang tried to hold it in, but he couldn't hold it in any longer. He said dryly, "If your mom and dad knew that you were so obedient to your wife, they would be very pleased." How could Hua Qinhuan not hear the slight jealousy in her uncle's words? She glanced at him lightly and said, "If my mom and dad knew that you were still alone at such an old age, they would definitely despise you." Zheng Qianyang? The single dog instantly received a critical hit from the couple. Uncle Zheng, who had been scolded by his junior, tried to save his dignity. "I didn't want to look for it, not that I couldn't find it." That was true. The Zheng family's business was overseas, and its scale was comparable to Hua Qinhuan's when her father was still alive. Therefore, when Hua Qinhuan's parents got married, it could be said that they were well matched in terms of social status. It was a much-told story. As the only heir of the Zheng family at that time, Zheng Qianyang was recognized as a young talent in the social circle. He was also handsome, so it was not hard to imagine how many rich girls secretly admired him and secretly wanted to marry him. However, Zheng Qianyang was young and rebellious. He didn't learn the playful habits of other rich playboys his age. Instead, he chose the most dangerous career. His family was furious, but they couldn't do anything about it. Zheng Qianyang didn't look for a girlfriend at first because he thought that he was too young. Moreover, what he was doing was dangerous, so he didn't want a girl to be with him and live in fear. He didn't know when she would lose her boyfriend and husband. Later, after the family Hua incident, Zheng Qianyang gave up on this idea. He went abroad to take over the Zheng family's business and set up his own international company. However, he still had to hide to avoid alerting the enemy. How could he be in the mood to date a woman and let her accompany him through the ups and downs of danger? Chapter 735. Hua Qinhuan obviously knew what Zheng Qianyang was thinking, but that didn't stop her from mocking him. "Heh, Zheng Qianyang? Is this still my obedient and cute little nephew? Time is indeed a butcher's knife." Su Yiyin came back at this time. As soon as she entered, she saw uncle and nephew sitting in the living room, about 3 meters apart. One was dejected and the other was cold. What's going on? She had already made time for these two, so why did they still look so dead when they came back? No, they looked worse than before she left. So, did the two of them have a breakdown? Before Su Yiyin could think further, a loud stomach growl broke the awkward silence in the room. Zheng Qianyang's face turned red, but when he thought of the hot pot they had last night, soft and fragrant stewed taro, crisp and refreshing cucumbers, fresh and delicious seafood, plump and tender mushrooms, and all kinds of chewy and fragrant beef products. Even though Zheng Qianyang wasn't very particular about food, he couldn't help but swallow his saliva at the thought of it. He turned to look at Su Yiyin and asked eagerly, "Yin Yin, are we still eating the same hot pot as last night?" Su Yiyin. Fine, he already knew to ask her for food. That was a big improvement. However, no matter how much they liked hot pot, they couldn't eat it every day, especially when these two guys were purely spicy. If they ate it every day, no matter how much soup or tea she made for them, it would be useless. In the end, Su Yiyin was especially cold and ruthless. She rejected Zheng Qianyang's suggestion to continue eating hot pot and instead prepared lychee meat, eggplant with garlic sauce, cold cucumber salad, and other dishes for them. After hesitating for a long time, she finally felt a little compassion and added spicy boiled fish. Zheng Qianyang was a little disappointed that he couldn't eat the hot pot, but when the spicy boiled fish was added, he was instantly captivated. He found out that although these dishes were made by the family's chef, the specific recipes were taught by Su Yiyin. Jing Qianyang, who had always been the child of others, tasted sour lemons for the first time. His nephew had married such a capable wife. What kind of heavenly life was he living every day? Hua Chenhuan didn't know that because of a few dishes, she had become a winner in life that even her uncle envied. After untying the knot in his heart, Zheng Qianyang settled down at the family Hua mansion with a clear conscience. Usually he would not stay at home during the day. He would only come back at dinner time and at night. As for Hua Chenhuan, it was unknown if she had already cooperated with Hua Xiaofeng to obtain the so-called evidence in his hands. She had been quite busy recently and often went out. Su Yiyan was bored at home alone and could only watch the show. The drama in Hua Xiaofeng's house was coming to an end. It was no longer interesting. Su Yiyan could only change her target and eat the drama in Hai Yi. To be precise, she ate the drama in Wen Jingping's production team. It was obvious that Wen Jingping had instigated Dou Qianni to poach Pan Yuan. She had also deliberately made the Empress to extort Red Dancer. She was trying her best to get back at Su Yiyan for all the losses she had suffered previously. Because of this, Red Dancer was still busy casting, but the production team of the Empress was already in full swing. Hai Yi had a good plan. The sooner they finished shooting, edited, and submitted for approval, the sooner they could seize the opportunity and occupy the market first. No matter what industry it was, there was a limit to the acceptance of the same type of thing. Chapter 736. Take palace dramas as an example. 1 palace drama was amazing, and 2 palace dramas were memorable. 3, 4, 5, or even hundreds of palace dramas, no matter how good something was, no matter how novel it would be used countless times and the audience would be tired of it. Hai Yi's move was nothing more than to let the Empress be released before Red Brave, to take advantage of the timing, take its advantage and put Dongqing Entertainment at a disadvantage. However, they obviously forgot the old saying, haste makes waste. Less than a month after the filming started, there was a big fight between the female lead and the second female lead. Hai Yi's love for Wen Jingping could be said to be true. They knew that Wen Jingping had a lot of previous scandals, but they waited until all the scandals were dealt with before announcing Wen Jingping's identity as the female lead. Unfortunately, the internet had memories. Even if the reports related to Wen Jingping had been deleted, it had only been a year at most, but there were still many people who knew about her previous incident. Especially when Wen Jingping took her boyfriend to Dongqing Entertainment to find Su Yiyan for a fight. The story of the mistress bringing her ex-fiancé to Dongqing Entertainment and being slapped in the face by the ex-fiancé was very interesting and satisfying. They thought that the mistress's entertainment career would be over. Who would have thought that in just a year she would come back from the ashes? Not only was she signed into a big company, but she was also the female lead of a big company's big production. Dongqing Entertainment's public relations department was not to be trifled with. Wen Jingping's identity was originally a hidden bomb. Now that this bomb had been thrown out, if they did not take advantage of this opportunity to detonate this bomb, how could they be worthy of the previous incident? As a result, the feud between Wen Jingping and Dongqing Entertainment's boss was pulled out, and the previous incident of the Empress extorting Red Brave was also pulled out. It would have been fine if these two matters were not put together. Now that they were put together, many people's imaginations were already running wild, and they imagined the grudges and grievances hidden in this little episode. In view of the fact that Wen Jingping had dragged her ex-fiancé to cause trouble for her ex-fiancé, and that it was Hai Yi who had first blackmailed Dongqing, this matter seemed like a certain green TB asterisk who had gotten her way and was pretentious to cause trouble for her ex-fiancé. All of a sudden, the comments section under the Empress and Hai Yi's official account were flooded with comments. People from all walks of life were arguing and criticizing the show. Everything that had happened to Red Brave had now been returned to the production team of Queen. It could be considered an eye for an eye. Compared to the PR department of East Jade City, who took this opportunity to wipe away their previous humiliation, the PR department of Hai Yi Arts was going crazy. Although they had already prepared for a tough battle before the crew announced the female lead role, they still had a lot of things to worry about. However, as a newcomer, Wen Jingping had really stepped on all the landmines that a newcomer could step on. Although they complained, they were all employees of Hai Yi Arts, and this woman was obviously someone that the boss wanted to protect. They could only pinch their noses and do their best to help with the PR. However, not everyone was angry with Wen Jingping, but they did not dare to say anything. Zhuo Wanshu was the most popular among the new generation of female artists in high arts. She had a sweet appearance and a straightforward personality. She had been pursued by countless fans since her debut, and in a few years she had grown into one of the few big stars. Other artists were afraid of being left out and without resources, but her schedule was full 24 hours a day. She was almost non-stop and rarely had time to spare. Chapter 737. When the discussion started online, Zhuo Wanshu and Wen Jingping were filming a scene where they fell into the water. It was the beginning of winter and the weather was cold. The water was already cold and it was even colder at night. However, Wen Jingping's acting wasn't good, and they had to drag the scene 7 or 8 times. Zhuo Wanshu kept touching up, falling into the water, touching up and falling into the water again. Her face turned green. In the end, the director couldn't stand it anymore and asked Zhuo Wanshu to take a rest while he scolded Wen Jingping with a loudspeaker. Wanshu. Zhuo Wanshu's manager had been watching from the side. When the director called for a break, she immediately rushed over with a blanket and wrapped Zhuo Wanshu up. Are you okay? Hurry up and warm yourself up. I asked Xiao Wang to buy some ginger soup for you. You'll be fine after drinking it. Zhuo Wanshu's lips and face were blue from the cold. After drinking the ginger soup, she felt better and hugged the stove that her assistant brought over. Zhuo Wanshu's manager had been taking care of her since she entered the entertainment industry. Seeing her like this, she was both distressed and angry. The company's higher-ups must have lost their minds to let such a half-baked person be the main lead and even let you play her supporting role. They've gone too far. Sister Ming, don't say too much. Although Zhuo Wanshu was angry, there were too many people in the crew. She couldn't guarantee that no one would hear her and cause trouble. She's already in this state. Why can't she say it? Look at how many people in the production crew are interested in her. Sister Ming glanced at Wen Jingping, who was tearing up from being scolded by Pan Yuan. She looked like she had suffered a great grievance but was pretending to be strong. Sister Ming was even more furious. You have a good temper. If you had been more stubborn and rejected this script, how could there be so many messy things happening? Zhuo Wanshu pursed her lips as a cold light flashed through her eyes. How can it be so easy to reject? Half a year ago, she had just finished filming an advertisement and was discussing with her manager about rejecting a few unnecessary jobs to rest for 2 days when she received a notice from the company. She was asked to act in a television drama that the company was investing in, to nurse a newcomer who had just joined the company. When Zhuo Wanshu and her manager heard this, they knew that this newcomer had some background. Although they were a little unwilling, they still accepted it. Originally, he thought that even if Zhuo Wanshu was a newbie in the milk company with her current status, even if she was not the main character, she would at least have a special role. In the end, she was given the role of the second female lead to act as a supporting actress for this newcomer. When Zhuo Wanshu and her manager returned to the company and saw the script, their faces darkened. However, due to the pressure from the higher-ups, they signed the contract in the end. It would be fine if Wen Jingping's acting skills were better, but in fact she was just a small streamer on a live broadcast platform a year ago. She was a real layman in the acting world. Even with the protagonist aura, she had learned more than the average person in the past few months. However, in front of a group of seniors who were older than her, it was still not enough. In addition, in order to seize the initiative, High Art had started production early. For Wen Jingping, it felt like she was forcing a duck onto a perch. The consequences were obvious. After a month of filming, the crew was on the verge of exploding every day. The atmosphere was terrifying. The actors and even the staff were all depressed. How could their work efficiency be high? Ah. As the two were talking, they suddenly heard a cry of surprise. They looked over and saw that it was Zhuo Wanshu's assistant, Xiao Wang. Chapter 738. Sister Ming looked at Xiao Wang and frowned. She asked softly, "What's wrong?" Xiao Wang hesitated for a moment before telling them what he had just seen. After Zhuo Wanshu and Sister Ming heard this, their expressions became even more subtle. They looked at Wen Jingping with more curiosity and disdain. Is this true? Or is the media purposely spreading rumors? It should be true. I asked my cousin, who is a fan of celebrities. She said that she had seen Miss Wen's scandal before. Apparently, there were pictures and videos of that incident. There was no way to turn the tables. Unfortunately, it seems that all those things have been deleted. I also heard that. Xiao Wang looked around. After making sure that no one was around, he leaned closer to the two and said, "That family Hui young master was kicked out of his company for some reason and lost his inheritance rights. Miss Wen broke up with him soon after. Who would have thought that she would enter Hai-E Entertainment a few months after they broke up? And they were both in the industry and weren't fools. They could guess what was going on from Xiao Wang's words. Previously, they had guessed that Wen Jingping might be a relative of one of the company's executives. Otherwise, why would they spend so much money to get her such a huge resource? Now it seemed that she wasn't a relative. She was clearly a boss's lover. Zhuo Wanshu's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. The fire in her heart couldn't help but rise. If it weren't for the fact that he had been in the industry for so many years and his sharp edges had been smoothed out, he would have already shed all pretense of cordiality on the spot and left. At that time, not many people in the crew knew about the news on the internet. After Pan Yuan scolded Wen Jingping, he went to look for Zhuo Wanshu. Sister Ming knew what he was thinking, so before he could say anything she said, "Director Pan, it's really cold today." Wanshu has jumped back and forth almost 10 times. Look at her face, it's so pale. I'm worried that her body will have problems if she continues to freeze like this. Why don't we stop here for today? I'll take her back to see a doctor. Pan Yuan was stunned. He looked at Zhuo Wanshu. Her eyes were drooping, her face was abnormally pale, and she looked weak. Looking at her condition, it was unlikely that there would be any good effects if they continued to shoot. Moreover, today's matter was not Zhuo Wanshu's fault. He was also worried that he would have to bear the responsibility if she really fell ill. He sighed and said, "All right, it's already very late. You should take Wanshu back first. Don't let her freeze." Sister Ming hastily nodded and left with Zhuo Wanshu. What everyone didn't know was that as soon as they left the set, someone had already taken a picture of Zhuo Wanshu's pale face. Not long after the announcement that Wen Jingping was going to be the female lead of the TV series was announced, some well-connected internet users found out that the second female lead of the TV series was actually the famous flower Zhuo Wanshu. This time they had poked a hornet's nest. Who was Wen Jingping? They had never heard of her before. It was said that she had been a mistress and had harmed her teammates during a talent show. Such a vicious green tea white lotus, even if their family Shu was to be her partner, she would still be worthy. As the old saying goes, if you want to wear a crown, you have to bear its weight. According to the original plot, Wen Jingping had walked step by step from a supporting role to a leading role. Even if her acting wasn't good at the beginning, there would still be a leading role to share the blame. As a supporting role, even if she was scolded, she wouldn't be scolded too badly. However, she was going to be the female lead of a big production. She didn't give anyone a chance to take a breather. She was just short of blatantly telling everyone that she had invested in the production and had a backer. Who else would they scold if not her? Chapter 739. Not long after Zhuo Wanshu was exposed as a supporting actress for a newcomer, a certain media outlet released a piece of news. Hai's newcomer has a big background? Famous actress Zhuo Wanshu fell into the water and froze for 2 hours. This piece of news caused an uproar among the crew. Zhuo Wanshu's fans were still angry that their idol was forced to be a supporting actress for a newcomer with no previous works. When they saw this piece of news, they almost exploded with anger. This piece of news even included a picture of Zhuo Wanshu's pale face when she got out of the water, as well as a short video of her being helped out of the set by her manager and assistant. In the video, Zhuo Wanshu's pale face and wobbly body poked at the hearts of many fans, making them even more worried and angry. "I'm so angry. I'm so angry. Shushu's face is so pale that she can't even stand properly. Is the crew shooting a movie or trying to murder her? I just saw a piece of news saying that a certain female lead's acting skills are bad and caused Shushu to jump more than 10 times. In this kind of weather, jumping once is bad enough, let alone more than 10 times? Are you sure she didn't do it on purpose? F***ck, even if she didn't do it on purpose, it only shows that her acting skills are bad. How can she be the female lead if she doesn't have any acting skills? If she doesn't have any skills, she shouldn't take on this job. Is she proud of herself for causing others to suffer? Or is she doing it on purpose because she's jealous of our Shushu's popularity and wants to harm her? What's the background of this woman? A rich second-generation heir? Someone with connections? Shushu is being bullied like this. Are the crew and the management company all dead? Don't they know how to stop her? What rich second-generation heir? It's more like she's good at hooking rich second-generation heirs. This woman was the one who cheated on Dong Cheng's boss, Mr. Su. She even brought her scumbag to his ex-fiancée. She's a ruthless character. Who knows which boss of high art she crawled into bed and coaxed him to let her be the female lead. She even asked Shu Shu to be her supporting character. Trash company. How much money has Shu Shu earned for the company over the years? In the end, they let her be a stepping stone just to promote this piece of trash. What a heartless company. When this piece of news came out, Zhuo Wanshu's fans were completely pissed off. They were on the front lines of cursing Wen Jingping. Because of this, she even dragged Hai Yi out and scolded them. The public relations department didn't expect that before they were done with their public relations, there would be such a big issue of internal strife in the production team. Under such pressure, he could only get someone to call Zhuo Wanshu's manager and ask her to clarify the matter and suppress it. When Sister Ming received the call, Zhuo Wanshu was running a high fever. Zhuo Wanshu had been working hard for the past 2 years, so her body was weak. Now that he was soaked in water, his body collapsed and he was a little dazed from the fever. Sister Ming was so angry that she almost smashed her phone when she received the company's order, for them to work with the crew to release a statement to protect Wen Jingping. When Zhuo Wanshu heard Sister Ming arguing with the other party, she felt a chill in her heart. Although she had expected such an outcome, she was already burning up like this. Not only did the company not show any concern on the surface, but they were also in such a hurry to ask her to help clarify the rumors outside. It was clear at a glance which was more important and which was more important. When a person was sick, they would be especially fragile and overthink things. If Zhuo Wanshu had not been sick, she would have endured it no matter how dissatisfied she was. Chapter 740. However, at this time, Zhuo Wanshu really couldn't take it lying down. She had never been a good-tempered person. All these years, if it weren't for the fact that Hai Entertainment had her contract in their hands and that her agent had been helping her deal with things on her behalf, she would have torn some people apart long ago. This matter was the fuse and the straw that broke the camel's back. The anger that Zhuo Wanshu had been accumulating for a long time suddenly exploded. Release. What? Sister Ming turned to look at Zhuo Wanshu in surprise. Zhuo Wanshu's face was still red from her high fever, but her eyes were unexpectedly sharp. If they want you to release, then release. Negotiate with the crew. I want to leave the cast. Leave the cast. Xiao Wang and Sister Ming exclaimed at the same time. Then the penalty. Not much. Hai Yi had originally invested in this drama. Perhaps because they believed that their artists wouldn't cause any trouble, they had loosened the conditions for signing an actor's contract. Although the penalty wasn't a small amount, it wasn't an astronomical figure for Zhuo Wanshu. Of course, she had also wanted to use this incident to test the company. If the crew really insisted that she pay the penalty, then? Zhuo Wanshu was angry. Sister Ming hesitated. But the company? I only have half a year left on my contract. Even if I'm frozen, it won't be for long. Zhuo Wanshu couldn't help but cough. Her heart-wrenching cough made people feel sorry for her. She only had half a year left on her contract. More than a month ago, the company had already asked Sister Ming to negotiate with her about renewing her contract. Zhuo Wanshu still hadn't renewed her contract because of this incident. If the company didn't care about this and fell out with her because of Wen Jingping, then there was no need for her to stay. I want to see if the company will really freeze me because of this. If it really came to that, then there was nothing left for her to stay. Zhuo Wanshu's agent quickly contacted the crew and tactfully told them that Zhuo Wanshu wanted to terminate her contract with the crew. Of course, the crew didn't agree. They even contacted Hai Yi to put pressure on Zhuo Wanshu. However, to everyone's surprise, after receiving Pan Yuan's call, Hai Yi Art didn't directly give a definite answer. They only said that they would negotiate with Zhuo Wanshu. As a result, early the next morning, Hai Yi gave them a reply. Using Zhuo Wanshu's physical condition as an excuse, they hoped that the crew could accept her resignation. Hai Yi would also be responsible for the crew's losses during this period. Many people in the crew were shocked by this outcome. Even Zhuo Wanshu and her manager felt that something was wrong. However, since the company had already relented, they didn't have to be overly cautious. Their confidence was instantly boosted. The next morning, Zhuo Wanshu's manager made a post. The general content was that Zhuo Wanshu had to leave the cast of Empress due to a sudden illness. She thanked the crew for their care during this period of time and expressed her regret that she could not continue working with them. She hoped that there would be a chance to work together again in the future. Blah blah blah, a bunch of polite words. It was obvious that this was an official speech. Although the post emphasized that Zhuo Wanshu had a sudden illness and needed to rest for a period of time before leaving the cast, her fans obviously didn't buy it. The media had just revealed that their little fairy had been bullied on set and soaked in cold water for an hour or two on a cold day, and now she suddenly fell ill? Did he really think that everyone was a fool? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.